even in this house, the most dire, horrible events took place.
You are not content with the stories. Slice the lives come. Be my victim.
Through watching scenes of violence, through watching scenes of transgression, through watching scenes of horror. There's an enormous amount of sort of abattoir of excess.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Good evening, good afternoon. How are we doing? We're starting a brand new arc, the February arc, a somewhat delayed one, but we are glad to be getting back onto schedule. And we're doing a special request. Maybe this should have been the first time we did it, I think. A co-host suggested arc. But we had some fun pre-Christmas, didn't we?
70s sci-fi was my arc.
Yeah, you managed to get in there ahead of the game. But it's okay. I'm glad we're going to be able to do this.
You know what they say, better late than never.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll even get us on screen. There we go.
Awesome.
Oh, yes. And I'm so glad you're on here. I'm desperately in need of you guys for tonight because, as I have said, I don't actually know anything about wrestling. So I'm feeling very out of the sort of expertise bubble here.
Oh, no.
I think, well, my only kind of interaction ever with it was one of my cousins had a WWE game on the Nintendo 64.
Was it?
And I always use.
Was it No Mercy?
I have no idea what it was. I was 5.
I've still got a copy of WWE No Mercy or WWF No Mercy.
I was going to say that's my memories. WWF. That's showing my age.
Yeah,
probably.
yeah. I mean, what was it? I think the 64 I had. On the 64 I had WrestleMania 2000, No Mercy, WCW versus NWO. All the SmackDowns. There's a new one coming out in about 30 odd days. WWE 2K22. They didn't release one last year because 2K20 was an absolute S show. Would you believe it?
Good job saving the family-friendly streaming.
Did you see the South Park WWE special that they did, which I think sums up wrestling perfectly these days?
Oh no, I haven't. But I think of South Park and wrestling, I instantly think of Macho Man Tranny Savage. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. That episode's hilarious.
That was pretty special. Yes.
Oh, I love that. It's a WWE one, the one where they've got the gym teacher who's keen on wrestling.
That's the one. That's the one, and he gets really upset because they all want to just do their basically sort of their sort of rendition of the WWE, which is more sort of talking crap and. You were going out with my best friend and this, that, and the other. It's great acting. No wrestling in it though at all.
And Trig, are you more like Haryan in this? I think you have some wrestling knowledge. I think
I have. You know what? I used to watch wrestling back in the 90s and actually in the 80s, back in the days of the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan, those sorts of days. So yes, a bit.
The golden age.
The absolute golden age. Yes.
I've got a feeling I would have been into it more, but I was just at the right age to be siphoned into the gladiator pipeline. You know, that took all my attention for that kind of genre. Do you think they explicitly tried to do that, sort of poach a WWF audience? I'm really showing my age here.
Gladiators was excellent. American Gladiators, and yes, can you feel the power?
Wasn't
of
Gina Carano
Gladiators?
in that? Gina Carano was one of the Gladiators, wasn't she?
Yes, could have been.
Yeah.
That was a good show. I enjoyed Gladiators. It was hilarious. It was very similar in
Yeah.
many respects. I mean, obviously not wrestling, but
I've seen a couple of episodes, and it seems very camp to me.
well, yeah.
Which
Trig,
is part
if
of
you
its charm. Yeah.
Trig, if you really want to show your age, mate, do you remember ITV wrestling?
Yes. You're gonna ask me if I remember Big Daddy and Giant Haystacks?
Yes.
That was some peak physique wrestling. That was. Those
mate.
guys were spherical.
I tell you, if you think you've got units in the UFC these days, mate, just go back and look at some old ITV wrestling. It is peak. Like peak 70s/80s diets, fully on display there.
Yeah. When the wrestlers would get in the ring, it's literally, I can't remember if they actually were, but you can see them necking 2 pints, slapping them down, and then climbing into the ring.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Fun fact: I actually watched Yokozuna wrestle at my local leisure centre. This was literally about a week before he died, and just before. For those who don't know, Yokozuna was like a 500-600 pound, well, portrayed as a sumo wrestler. But yeah, he was he was huge, and that they actually were reinforcing the ring prior to his match, because the thing was bendy.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yokozuna and Fatu, I think it was. Yeah.
I think it's, I know everyone goes, oh yeah, it's scripted, it's acting. That is all very true. When someone is that size and they are Grundy splashing onto you or whatever the particular move, that you've got that amount of human being landing on your face, you are in trouble if you do it wrong.
I mean,
there is some serious, athletics and skill involved.
Yeah, getting a guy like Yokozuna charging you into the turnbuckle. Whether it's scripted or not, you're gonna wake up in the morning feeling that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very
or like Vader would do things like moonsaults off the top rope. Like again, Vader was another one back in the sort of Attitude days, WCW, WWF days. He was a big old unit, but he was surprisingly athletic.
Mm.
Is Attitude the era where they tried to be a bit more like 90s punky and not as sweary?
Yeah, that was when they were fully going head to head with WCW, the old Monday Night Wars. That gave birth to some absolute legends.
These are deep wells of deep lore. I'm so glad you guys are here, because it's largely a foreign world to me. I've done my best to spruce up things so it looks more wrestly. I've got your boy Vince in my frame photos this time.
I saw that.
Yeah, I didn't expect the one on the right to be the first photo of Vince that I found, but once I found it, I thought it had to stay.
Yeah, he's jacked in real life. I mean, I don't know so much now because he's getting on a bit now, but around that time when he was feuding with Stone Cold, he got quite. I mean, he was obviously going to be terrible in the ring anyway, because he was the boss. He wasn't a pro, but like him and Shane, more Vince actually. He was like he was ripped. It was insane.
Right. Well, I'm kind of interested in the chat. How many of you are wrestling fans, are familiar with it? I see Richard, you are. I want to know who else knows this stuff. It's just going to be curious. Yeah, it's kind of weird timing because I know AA did a Vince McMahon stream yesterday that I watched. We did have this planned long in advance. I could show the schedule, but I do like to keep some surprises. We should probably get into it, actually. And I thought a fun way into it would be showing where some of this idea of wrestlers in horror comes from, because it has got quite a rich history to it. And and it was kind of tempting to go with some of the early stuff, but you will see why I did not. As one of the first guys I can think of for doing this, sort of excluding the films where they actually used performers like Todd Browning's Freaks from 1932.
Oh, yeah.
We go a little more recent and we think of Tor Johnson. Now, is that a name that is familiar to anyone? Do
Who?
not worry if it's not.
I know
Don't
we've
worry
mentioned
about it.
I know we've mentioned the name in the past.
Yes, yes. This will be more familiar if you're fans of the film Ed Wood, which chronicled the end stages of the career of one of the worst film directors of all time, Edward D. Wood Jr. And he wanted some big, larger-than-life characters to go in his movies and be sort of outstanding on film. And he got fascinated by Tor Johnson. Tor Johnson was a Swedish wrestler who'd come over in the 1930s to California, and he'd had a small start in screens. You know, he was, I can't really see why he didn't take off, but he was mostly doing small parts in addition to his wrestling. And Ed Wood, I guess, saw the potential in him and gave Tor Johnson some roles. So I thought you might like to see a little bit of Tor Johnson from 1959, and then you might get an idea why we're not doing more of this, why we're not just showing you a whole film to sort of do our retro look at horror. So I'm just going to pull that up now. I pray you forgive me.
You are forgiven.
Genius. Yes, Lieutenant Bradford, more than you'll ever know.
This is Night of the Ghoul, by the way, 1959.
It's good to see you're all right.
There's our boy Tor.
You might come home with a breath of fresh air.
Man, what happened to him?
I couldn't find my way back
Well,
to the
that's an
chambers
outfit.
or back to the I wonder why you really went into the corridors. I just told you. Sure you did.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
With my suggestion, you don't struggle too violently.
I'm sorry, but what's up with the turban?
Back without trying.
Oh, that's a fun story. The guy in the turban is the amazing Criswell. Think of like Mystic Meg for the 1950s.
Okay.
Yeah. So in oh gosh, I can never remember his name. Gosh, he was arrested for some dodgy shenanigans in a U-Tree style manner, and I never remember the actor's name. Gosh darn it. Anyway, that's the actor playing Criswell, not the actual Criswell.
Right.
Yeah, he was a psychic who had a little gig on cheap cable TV making predictions, and Edward D. Wood Jr. loved him and loved his voice and put him in his movies. Similar reason that he got Vampira in, if the Edward film is correct. Her television contract had come to an end, so he got the Finnish star of Vampira to be in his movies as a vampire. I'm not sure she was particularly enamored of his work, but she did see the opportunity to make some cash. So that was a little bit of Tor Johnson. I'm going to show you a little bit more, and you should see why I'm not just having you cover the whole film, why I wouldn't set this movie or any Ed Wood movie as a horror homework. Hey, Rory Herbert, good to see you. You're just in time for some 1950s quality.
Is this the 50s?
1959.
Yeah.
Oh.
I also thought it
He's behind you.
somewhat reminiscent of our film tonight, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
No, not anymore. Kind of ruined the effect there. Man, imagine if the mountain was like that in Game of Thrones.
I want to tell you I've not added any of this music in.
I was going to say, what's those sound effects?
What was that?
It's an eyeball.
Is it?
Again, reminiscent of our film tonight.
I mean, how could I not? What kind of coincidence is that? You've got a giant guy. He's bald. He's your monster hulking around, not being given much to say, and there's a bit of an eyeball fixation. Yeah, I had to show you those clips.
I mean, it's a much better connection than the old gay.
The gay
connections you
reading.
try, the gay readings.
You wait. Maybe come June, I'll slip something super gay into the stream. How about that? Just when you're least expecting.
You're not slipping anything super gay near me.
So yeah, you kind of get the feeling Edward movies are interesting artifacts, but they don't quite get through the WISO threshold, as I call it. They are just sort of, they can't get into so bad it's good territory. At a certain point, usually about 6 minutes in, you realize, oh God, I've got another 80 minutes of this. Can't recommend, but I thought you might like to see some clips of early wrestlers being used in horror films, and maybe some interesting parallels to what we're covering tonight.
Yeah, good, interesting analysis there.
Yes, I thought I'd keep it quite sweet. I did have a cute clip of Tor Johnson talking to Groucho Marx on his chat show, which was really quite surreal. And it's such a shame because he's a really well-spoken man, and he's just made to play a big lumbering beast. Poor guy.
Yeah.
That's probably a good transition into one of the weirdest bits of trivia I have for tonight. Because I was doing my research, and I don't know if you guys knew this already, but the main guy, the person that they are selling See No Evil around, Glenn Jacobs, who plays Kane.
Yes.
Dude is also a very intelligent guy and political operator.
Indeed.
He's got a big old brain.
Yes.
Dude gave speeches to the Mises Institute and spoke at the Mises Caucus. And yes, is elected as a mayor. It's like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was watching interviews of him talking about where did he start? Ron Paul, and then going back and reading Mises. I don't think he mentioned Hopper, but he was talking about getting into Rothbard. And it's just so surreal watching him talking about the details of Rothbard's political philosophy and economics, and then seeing what he has to do in the film.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be fair, I didn't know about his political career until sort of much later on. But when I found out he sort of took a sidestep from wrestling to go into politics, and that he actually won his election to become mayor of Knox County, I was a bit like, whoa, okay. So, he's obviously got some sensible ideas. Either that or the people just really love their wrestling. But yeah, I think because he was, I distinctly remember during the beginning of the pandemic, he was quite willing to keep things open and trying to keep things running as normal as possible without the situation, shall we say, causing too much of an impact. I don't know whether he kept to that, but I do remember him saying that things like lockdowns and all that jazz were
yeah, I mean
we're not desired options, basically.
No.
Desiccated Limbs has raised an interesting thing. My dude, there is the weirdest thing. Like you strap on the lycra and start tossing lads off in the ring, and sooner or later you're a mayor in America. Throwing them all over the place. What's a?
Well, I'm just saying, Donald Trump is a WWE Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
It's true. As soon as you get in the ring, you're going to get in the political political ballot. What can I say? It's a weird coincidence. Who else? Jesse the Body Ventura.
Yes, Jesse Ventura. Yeah, of course.
I think Linda McMahon had a run for Congress, I think, at one point.
Oh my goodness. There's another lad who's in Predator who got elected as well. Who was it?
That was Jesse Ventura.
Yeah, it's not Carl Weathers.
Jesse Ventura's in Predator.
But
he again, Predator would be
good time to bleed.
Yeah. Again, that would be a perfect wrestling themed film to cover because obviously Jesse was doing all of the wrestling business back then as well. I'm trying to think who else. What about JBL?
Roddy Piper is worth.
Oh, there we go.
Did he
I
really?
knew there were more.
They Live. Remember?
Oh yeah, of course. I'm just thinking. Politics. So
politics,
did he get into politics?
I'm not sure, but he wasn't a stupid man. Let's have a look.
They will surprise you. I mean, bless him, Glenn Jacobs, who gets to say about 2 words in this film. Sorry, 4 words. Talking about reading some. I mean, Rothbard's fairly easy reading, I think, but Mises, I haven't read it myself, but I gather Human Action is not like reading.
I got 2/3 of the way through that book, which I did on purpose to kind of split it up, but I just dread going back to it because it is so annoying to read.
Austrian philosophers, they are dry to read. I will grant you that. It's worth it though. They make some very good points. I tend to find that there are other better, more literary characters that make similar points in a less dry prose. But yes.
Yeah, Road to Serfdom is full of good points, but my goodness, I find it quite difficult to get through.
I've been rereading Brave New World recently because I was sort of trying to make the point that an awful lot of these things are actually done in very nice stories, like Brave New World, which is actually kind of fun / horrific to read, rather than sit there and drive yourself slightly insane with that.
Yes.
And they are.
Yeah. So we'll set a little bit of the background of this. There's not too much to say on the making of it, and then I think we'll get right into it. But seeing as we are on YouTube,
Chill.
Do it.
Drop a like from the top rope. Moonsault onto the subscribe button.
And get your finger onto that favourite button and gouge its eyes out.
Body slam that like button.
Stomp a mud hole in that subscribe button.
If you see a friend moving away from this channel, you just throw that hook at them, grab them by the ankle, and bring them back into line, and make them watch this. We shilled. We shilled.
Slam that subscribe button into the ceiling.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, I think that's a convincing sales pitch from us. Good stuff. Yeah. Good stuff. It's so natural now. Yes. So this is from 2006. It is a fairly low budget production. I gather it was produced on about 8 million. And the marketing budget, I think they had quite an interesting workaround. Now, usually the marketing budget for a film is the same as the production costs. Increasingly, the marketing is more than the production costs, which I find quite weird.
Really?
Yeah, seriously. Seriously, it's something I've noticed, especially with the bigger productions. They just go so out on the marketing and figure it all. Well, anyway, so they kind of had an advantage of this because this is produced by WWE. Well, it was WWF Studios at the time. It's since renamed. There's a fair amount of rebranding happening. But they had their own network, so they had so many opportunities. Needle and fur. I cannot repeat that, but that is an inventive shill.
That's a good little rock reference right there.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, so they had their own TV network to help advertising the film, and I gather this is what they leaned on. From what I can find, if you were watching wrestling in 2006, you were seeing promos for See No Evil fairly constantly. This may not have endeared people to the film, alas. And there was another interesting gimmick that was brought in. You probably expect a gimmick in wrestling, and as has already been raised, it's May 19th. Which did you guys look this up?
I have no idea what that's referring to.
Yeah, I've got no idea.
Okay, so because I don't watch wrestling, this was very bizarre to me. According to the trivia for this, as part of the build-up to the movie's release, WWE created a running gag of Kane attacking anyone who mentioned the date, May 19th.
Oh, yes.
In the storyline,
rings bells. Yep.
Yeah, Kane explained that it was the date of the fire that turned him into what he is, and it was also the release date of the movie.
Funny that. What are the chances?
Interesting marketing. Interesting. So yeah, it went out, but I also don't think they particularly splashed the money round on the production. They shaved a lot off. You're basically working in one large set, which I think is it doesn't look too cheap there. I think they did a good job. But the writing talent was very much in-house. So it was written by a guy called Dan Madigan, who seems to have pretty much just done wrestling production. And the film was directed as a sort of first-time professional film. I probably shouldn't say that. First-time mainstream film by Gregory Dark, who is mostly known for producing softcore entertainment.
Softcore, what's the point?
Yeah.
I got vibes,
All I'm going to say is thank God Vince Russo didn't get his hands on the creative development of this film.
Oh, no. Vince Russo?
Oh yeah.
I have no idea. I probably shouldn't ask more because I want to keep it family friendly.
No. He's pretty much credited as the guy who killed WCW, or like one of the many reasons. Some of his creative storylines, shall we say, were quite interesting.
That is going to bug me. It would be a little after Angel was produced. Angel finished 2004, but maybe the set was abandoned at that point. It was all on set.
It was similar.
There's a weird amount of Australian money and Australian talent in it as well, which I couldn't quite get to the bottom of. But yeah.
They've been shooting in Australia for a long time because they were certainly in the early 2000s. Australia were giving massive tax breaks to American companies. Do you remember the Matrix was all shot in Australia?
My goodness, of course it was.
Same reason they were it was cheaper to shoot to drag a film crew all the way up to Australia than it was to shoot in California.
Yeah, so Australia got in on the old Vancouver game.
Can't blame them. Get that Hollywood money coming in. They've got a lot of it to splash around.
Yeah. I was like mid-2005 was the sort of former Eastern Bloc countries started getting in on the game as well. The not particularly recommendable Seed of Chucky filmed in Romania, trying to make Romania stand in for Hollywood.
I haven't seen that, but Tricky was the first one was great. Everything after that was a bit goofy.
Yeah, I can't recommend it. It's painful. You have Hannah Spirit from S Club 7. It's a weird time capsule of a movie. Very bizarre. Yeah, I go like Child's Play 2, Child's Play 3 maybe, Bride of Chucky probably, and then I kind of skip all the way to the reboot. But that's getting us a little off topic. And so that's some of the basic production detail of it. It is incredibly gory, and the timing of its release, I think, is also incredibly important. I kind of get the feeling that our producer, waifu, yes, Seed of Chucky was the one that introduced Glenor Glenda. Weirdly, also a reference to Ed Wood and the film of the same name. One of the major creative powers behind the whole Child's Play franchise is a guy called Don Mancini, who is very, very gay, and he's brilliant at getting gay references into the movies, usually quite subtle ones. And Glenor Glenda is really quite a, how can I say, a reference that probably gets by most people. But yeah, I can't recommend watching that film. It's quite terrible. So yeah, where was I? 2006 debut of, well, mainstream debut of the director Gregory Dark, and I kind of got the vibes that he saw. I thought, I'm going to do that.
Oh, you should have said he seesaw.
Oh.
I got 3 hours sleep. All right, I'm going to be full of dad jokes this evening.
I support it. Okay, so shall we get into the film?
Yes.
Go on then.
Thank you. All right. Yay.
Yes, we should.
All right. So it's a tiny bit.
Just before we start, Haryan, what did you think about this film?
It was pretty good.
It doesn't matter what you think.
Okay.
I had to do it.
Oh. Is that a wrestling reference? I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know.
We don't know. We're so in the dark here. So we get this intro, which is like, it's very Saw, it's very Seven, but I kind of like it. What do you guys think of how we're introduced to the film?
I'm surprised I'm surprised you didn't get a gay reading it within the first 5 minutes of this film. To be honest.
Well, you don't get this bit first, and in my rewatch, I completely forgot you get introduced to the guy like shivering in the corner, and I'm like, what the hell? In a really derelict like trailer with like a cage outside. I'm like, gee, what's going on? Which I think is a pretty good tone setter, and then it goes straight into this, which is also another good tone setter. You know the film's going to be creepy, and you know it's going to be a bit of a violent slasher. I was like, oh, that's neat. Though I did find it funny when the cops are like going in when they hear the woman scream, and one of the cops says, "Shouldn't we wait for backup?" I was like, no. Why?
No, you should not wait for backup. There's a few lines that come from this later on that are quite funny. Like, you can forget the stuff that happens in this, but there's a really funny bit later. When the cop who survives this encounter realizes that it's the same guy behind the killings and goes, "But I shot him in the head." It's like,
yeah,
but you didn't find a body, so.
But and I like rewatching the scene. It doesn't even look like he hits his head. It like more looks like a shoulder shot. But either way, if he's shot in the head, how's he alive?
Yeah, well,
it went through.
People have been shot in the head and survived.
Yeah,
in fact,
true.
There've been cases of people that were brain damaged and losing chunks of their brain and being fixed by it. So
that's true.
The wound in the back of his head is definitely would have been a fatal shot, actually, to be honest. Especially with Anyway, we don't jump too far ahead.
Well, I mean, this film got a sequel, so I mean.
I don't know how.
How? Because oh boy, did he die at the end.
Oh no, I love it. So the sequel, which came out
2014.
2014. Thank you. 8 years later, like we'll do it again. Like, this was not a massive success, but Vince McMahon, he doesn't quit. He pumped these films out. There's one series that they have called The Marine, which is
Yes.
6 films in now.
Yeah, John Cena was the first one. I think The Miz has done a couple of couple of them as well.
The guy called The Miz seems to be the main person behind those franchises. He was in the next 5. They keep those franchises going, so they saw they had this property, and I think in fairness, it needed different hands on it, and it seems to be the consensus that the sequel to this is much better.
Right.
It is directed by the Soska twins, directors and writers of American Mary.
Yeah.
Oh no.
But how
doesn't bode well.
he's just in a morgue, and then he just resurrects for no reason whatsoever, and they don't care, and then they just go on with it. It's like,
and that's better than this. Really?
I mean,
well,
if
there's one thing you'll learn about Vince McMahon if you start getting into wrestling, if there's one thing you'll learn about him is Vince McMahon listens to Vince McMahon. He does make some questionable decisions, and some would argue that it's probably about time that he sort of steps aside now. So I could completely believe that the sequel to See No Evil would exist purely if Vince McMahon had a hand in saying yes, let's just do it. Who cares why? I mean, look at the storylines they put out in the WWE. Well,
if Jason can be resurrected as many times as he's been resurrected,
exactly. I imagine
Why
that'll
not?
probably be one of the things he'd say. Yeah, well, if Jason can do it, why can't Glenn Jacobs?
exactly. You know, why not?
Be-
Why not?
Because he's dead.
there's a certain point in horror where they do just sort of think, sod it. And it,
Look, he's got the voice of God in his head, and once God is in someone, they can be brought back.
It's just so weird because there was clever writing in this film, and then it's just like, it just comes back to life. I'm like, okay.
Why not?
I am so interested in your take, Haryan. I really am.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's not too much to say about this. This first scene's just a tone setter, really. Because the cop we follow for the rest of the film gets his arm chopped off, and obviously this other cop has got an axe through his chest and dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go
on.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, we should point out this is about 82 minutes of story in this film. One thing that I appreciate it is it doesn't. You see a lot of films that just couldn't get to that feature length, and they pad like crazy. This didn't do that, and I really appreciate. I've watched a lot of really bad horrors where they just stick in sort of 12 minutes of 2-person dialogue or someone wandering around just to make up the running time. And this didn't do that. This is actually very efficient. They come in, they see something creepy and weird. They're attacked. You get some information about what is driving. We shouldn't call him Kane. He actually has a name which is mentioned
Jacob.
at no point in the movie.
Yeah, but you say you say that, but he in the credits he's credited as Kane, not Glenn Jacobs.
Yeah.
Yes, our antagonist's name is Jacob Goodnight. They were going to call the movie Goodnight, but I think See No Evil's a better title.
Yeah, that'd be so on the nose. Like, it's stupid enough having a last name Goodnight, to be fair. But
sounds like a Bond girl. In fact, there is a Bond girl with a surname Goodnight. I'm certain of it. I'm just trying to remember which one now. Anyway, I digress.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we do get the information very, very quickly. He's big, he's deadly, he's kind of mysterious. He's got a religious obsession, and he does not like eyeballs, or really likes eyeballs.
Yeah, the woman that was screaming, she didn't have eyes.
Is this an attempt to dehumanize his victims?
Oh. Who invited Trigger?
Oh. How could you?
Well, we can't have 2 people giving us dad jokes, all right? I'm going to go mad.
It's in the chat as well. Needle and Fur. I found Kane to be a rather able actor.
That's really jarring, guys. Okay.
Hey.
Sorry. What did
This
you
is
make of this
gouging
intro?
humour.
What do you make of the intro, Trig? How do you like it?
Oh, it's lovely. It's great fun. I mean,
Yeah.
you immediately feel like you're watching an 80s slasher movie. It's great. It's just like, it's any one of a number of it's a whole bunch of tropes from all sorts of 80s movies. Saw as well, but again, Saw is a huge reference to lots and lots of classic tropes. Great fun. Straight to the point. Bad guy is gonna start murdering people with an axe. Wonderful. Great. Let's get on with it. Oh, the guy's arms come off. The torch is shining on the girl's face. She's crying. She looks up and there's no eyes. It's all there.
Can you cry without eyes?
I mean, you can make the noise. I think tears might be difficult.
True.
Wow.
You got me there.
Yeah.
Sorry, I would cry, but I don't have any eyes, so I'll just make the sound. Wow.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's a good tone setter, and you know what? Can we just be so thankful? This is done in 2006, and I don't have a screenshot of it because of the gore, and Susan doesn't like it, but thank goodness we are out of the 90s bad CGI danger zone. Because we end this scene on a deep pan right into the sockets of the victim. The eyeless sockets. It's kind of beautiful.
I nearly threw up.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yay!
Oh.
Yeah, I know some of the jokes have been bad, but they might get cornier.
Oh, wow.
Well played.
Is that even a joke?
Oh, Haryan!
I didn't see that coming.
Oh, God, right. So
Didn't
3
you
minutes
do
summary,
biology
don't care.
GCSE? Very
No,
bad
I
people.
I didn't know. No, I didn't do biology.
So, let's put it out there. I have a mixed opinion on this film, but it's not slacking. It is doing very energetic editing. It's not wasting your time. It's getting straight into it, and it's quite memorable. And it ends on something memorably gruesome and inventive. Yes, we did have Jeepers Creepers 5 years before this, but it used the sort of missing eye effect quite differently. This is creative. So, shall we just go with a 3-minute summary and go through it? Because it's pretty straightforward. So,
sure.
All right, lovely.
Yeah, because I mean, after this, they have the news all going around, just basically telling you what happened again. I thought it was pretty cool, but I think he also mentions that they didn't find the actual attacker, which was interesting. But then it just skips. Does it tell you how long it skips?
4
The time
years.
skip? 4 years, yeah.
I thought that was really odd. 4 years.
Why?
I don't know. Normally when you get these like time skips, it's normally like a year, 5 years, 10 years. I don't know. I just found it really odd. 4 years. It was quite specific. Might as well just said 4 years, 3 months, 62 days, and 17 hours.
I think you'd complain at any number.
No. If it was like 5 or 10 years or something like that, something silly like that, it just seems what a typical time jump would be. I saw 4 years and I thought, oh, that's interesting. Then went with 4.
Yeah. It does say 4 years. Yeah. I don't know. It's 4 years later, and we see Mr. Officer from the first scene with a prosthetic arm. But it's really obvious that it's obviously just like kind of a glove for his arm. But I kind of wish that they made it out like he doesn't have much strength in it, but he kind of just acts like it's not an issue for him because he's like carrying a heavy bag in his left hand that's been chopped off, which I don't think you could maybe do with, especially that's prosthetic, because it's not really got a grip.
You did have it strapped onto the rest of your arm really well.
Yeah, but I mean, I just wish they did a bit more with his prosthetic arm, but they don't really. It's kind of just where we've chopped his arm off, so he can't have an arm, but he still uses it. But yeah, and then it just sets up 4 guys and 4 girls from a detention center.
I'm sorry to stop you, mate, but I don't want to skip over the gay reading. in that scene.
Go on.
So before it gets to this bit that we're looking at now, as he's leaving the house, it pans on the picture of him and his former partner. And I'm just thinking,
Okay.
were they more than just partners?
Well, he is alone, so
Yeah.
I don't know. He didn't seem that upset when he died. He just seemed to be. Well, I guess he was fine for his life.
Probably, mixture of fighting for survival and probably a bit of shock.
Are you implying that he backed the blue?
I'm implying that he very much backed the blue and the
my.
brown.
Yeah, I could see that coming.
Disgraceful. Family friendly stream.
He lost his arm. How does he eat? How does he talk? How does he love?
Bless. Okay. I saved the shot because I like that they used a Dutch angle, sort of unexpectedly. The director threw it in, and why not?
It's
Yeah,
pretty cool. That's all I've got to add.
Yeah, you like a Dutch angle. Good.
Yes.
Good.
But I like the way these characters are introduced as well, because they'll kind of have introductory kind of, they'll be talking to each other, doing things, but also, when it comes up with this, I mean, with computer fraud, it's a bad example because it doesn't do anything. But for instance, when they're like passing the drugs around, the guy that gets it does the introduction for him, and it says that he received stolen property. And they do that quite a lot. So one of the girls, she steals something out of a handbag, and it's like, oh, she was done for shoplifting. And then one of the girls gets aggressive, and she's done for aggravated assault. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, they're acting as kind of their profiles as told as they are, which is part of the smart writing. I personally think. I mean, I like these introductions. You've got to introduce about 10 characters in about 2 minutes, and if you're gonna do that, this is the least worst way I can think of doing it, really.
It does get through what might often take 20 minutes of flashbacks to former lives and this, that, and the other. It's just, here you go, here's person, here's what they did, and here's them doing a little bit of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but it could easily been a high school trip. It is very much a bunch of high schoolers in a location, whether it's a summer camp or in this place it's a hotel. It is very much a classic 80s slasher movie trope of, bunch of teenagers, essentially.
Do you think it was a decision to just move away from, innocent teenagers and, try and shake it up a bit?
I guess. I mean, at least these are criminals, so they have more reason to be punished, but they are sinners after all.
Yeah,
I always liked the let's squish a bunch of American teenagers trope.
I was thinking about this actually when I was watching this, because back in 2006 WWE would have been, I'm pretty sure it would have been in what it was called the ruthless aggression era, and so there was a lot of, it was kind of like the Attitude Era, but sort of a lot more commercialized in a way. It was still quite edgy in its tone, and I think that sort of resonates a lot in this film. I mean, you're not dealing with just like bog standard teenagers. You're dealing with like criminals and people who've been convicted with drugs and assaults and fighting. So it kind of for me when I was sort of watching this, I sort of had that in my mind. And that kind of resonated with the characters, as in terms of, I mean, you try and make this film in the PG era now. I mean, the characters wouldn't be anything like they were in this one, I don't think.
That explains a fair amount, because one of the things I struggled with in this film is that I did find it's deliberately grimy. It's basically everyone's basically horrible.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back and look at some of the TV showings of like Raw or SmackDown during that time, the tone and the atmosphere was very much similar to sort of how this film was portraying itself. Very sort of edgy, very just it felt consistent with the time.
That makes a lot of sense. It seems like it's something they moved away from, because
Yeah.
like this seems like it's something really on brand. So absolutely this is a WWF film. But later they like branched out. I think it must have worked for them because they were funding quite unusual projects. They funded Oculus from Mike Flanagan in 2013, which is this very somber, minimalist horror. No massive wrestlers anywhere. And when I found out they funded that, I thought, what? What the heck?
Interesting, yeah. I mean, he sort of dipped his finger in lots of pies. Did old Vinnie Mac? Do you remember Trig? He tried to get his own NFL, didn't he? What was it? The XFL. Tried that twice, I think. He tried that twice.
Yes, no, that's going back. Yes.
Yeah, that was NFL, but basically on steroids. That was he's sort of
Literally.
Yeah.
Ah,
Okay.
he's a legend, though, this man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
So, why are all these miscreants and felons getting onto a bus and together? What's going on, Haryan? What's the setup?
Yes, I mean, there's not too much point introducing every character to the audience because, one, quite a lot of them are forgettable. Two, a lot of them die soon. And to be honest, you kind of focus on each of these characters for about 10 minutes total, apart from kind of the ones that last. And they all have that little conversation on the bus and all that, and it kind of introduces these little relationships they all have between each other, and the girl's been told don't shag the boys. But yeah, it's all fairly simple, which is fine. It's a WWE film. I didn't expect Citizen Kane. So they're all going to this old hotel called Blackwell, where the top 2 floors were clearly in some sort of fire. To which I went, what? Why are they here then? and then they see an old lady called Margaret, and apparently they're doing 3 days volunteer work over a weekend, along with the woman and the officer who are supervising them, and they're gonna basically help clear out the derelict mansion hotel thing to turn it into a homeless shelter. And I was like, my mind went, there's no. Like, this premise is a bit weird.
Hold on,
Yeah.
I can solidify that visually for anyone who did not see the film. I'll show you why this is so ridiculous. That is it six of them?
Yes.
No,
Eight.
8
How
of
many?
them, yeah.
No,
8
yeah.
of them.
Eight.
There's loads.
Well, there's 10, including the security. The prison officer and
Yeah, there's
and
4
the other lady.
girls.
Yeah,
there's 4 girls and 4 guys. So
It is
this is a
8
typical room. Look at the absolute state. Freshman halls
Yeah.
are barely this bad.
Yeah, it was disgusting. Like, there were cockroaches out. Like, I was going through this going, what is the point? Like, even the point in trying to save this place?
Yeah, it's clearly a 300-man crew
Yeah.
going in there gutting it for 6 months. It's not 8
It's not 300 men. It's a 300 stick of dynamite job. That's just
I would say
sustaining it.
low orbit ion camp, and it's the only way to be sure.
Yeah.
Someone actually brought up a really good reference here in respect of the editing as well as the grime. Fez kind of nailed it. The editing is massively like The Shield, which is a fantastic show if anyone hasn't seen it.
Yes.
Very hyperactive editing. And I think that's got to be an inspiration for this as well, because The Shield was definitely going in 2006.
Yeah. So I mean, this may be a problem with the plot, that it makes no sense that there were like 8 people are doing a 500-man job for a hotel that obviously doesn't need to be saved.
And also a couple of the floors were off bounds.
Yes,
as well.
Two of the floors with fire damage are off bounds, and I'm just like, why? But I want to stick a pin in it, and and I'll explain why when we get to it later.
We can't be mad at that, really, can we? She also just very casually drops some information about there being hidden passageways and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Does she say that? I thought the two
She
guys
does.
said it later.
She does at this point. There are rumors about hidden rooms and secret passageways, but we've never found them. I'm like, I will say that is a tiny bit I mean, can I complain about it being unsubtle in this film?
I mean,
you can complain.
Subtlety is not something I would pin anything in this film. Yeah.
It does feel kind of churlish to kind of complain about that, but it is just, I don't know, it's so on the nose.
She might as well have said there's definitely not a killer in between the hidden rooms that we've never found before.
I mean, that is something I'd probably mention to people cleaning a hotel. To be fair, it's like, oh, there might be some like hidden passages and rooms you might happen to find. We've not found them, but you're gonna obviously be cleaning it a lot more. You know, that's something I'd probably mention. But I know what you mean. It's clunky dialogue. I'll give you that.
Oh,
but
the dialogue in this film.
Oh, it's WWE.
Yeah, I know.
But having said that, I kind of like the charm because the bald guy behind this black girl on the left, he was just being a bit of a dick in this scene, and clearly everyone else thought that as well. So he's clearly kind of just a dick, as I say. And then everyone else like, "Can you shut up?" And then he's like, "Oh, eat me." And then someone else says, "Oh, good one." They all laugh.
You sort of skipped over a bit as well because there's a bit of a there's a history between him and one of the other girls. So basically, I think he used to pimp her out or something. Yeah. And obviously was abusive and whatnot. And they found themselves together back on this little project. And I love it because there's one bit where the security guard's like, "Oh, you know, we'll be looking over your files," and it says to the girl, sort of to the left in the black shirt, you know, like, "Oh, you've got the most promise out of all of them," and then she brings up the fact, she's like, "Oh, why have you brought these two together? You know, do you know the history?" And he's like, "No, what are you talking about? We didn't know this," and he's like, "I'll go and sort it out." And it never gets, nothing happens. It doesn't get brought up again.
Which of the two that had a history?
It was Mike, the really short-haired guy who's an absolute d-bag, and Kira, she looks like she's out of Suicide Girls. I had a look, and I'm just looking now if she did any Suicide Girls stuff. That might be a reference that makes no sense to many people.
What you mean?
She was but yeah, she was the tattooed lady.
Oh my gosh!
Yes.
Okay, I just learned something really weird.
A bit with that. What?
Right. So Kira, not on Suicide Girls apparently, but
Suicide Watch.
Her name is Samantha Noble, and she's the daughter of John Noble from Lord of the Rings, Denethor.
Oh, wow.
Oh, neat.
Far up.
That unexpected Denethor. My goodness. How cool is that?
Neat. I can't remember which one Denethor is, though.
He's a big lad in Gondor. He's a steward of Gondor who's...
it's him, yeah.
Yeah, Faramir and Boromir's dad.
Yeah. Got that. All right.
Wonderful eating food scene in the movie.
Yeah, there were two scenes in Lord of the Rings my girlfriend had to look away from. One was the giant spider, and the second was that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, you know, it's very kind of it's pretty cookie cutter, the characters, to be honest. A lot of them are just almost background characters. You got the no nonsense cop and his, you know, woman assistant, whatever. The girls are basically, I mean, three of them are basically just bitches.
Yeah, slag bitch, yeah. and you know, kind of in the wrong place, tried to do right, but you know, misunderstood. And then you've got a bunch of assorted douchebags.
Yeah, and it's but I'm there going, yeah, I kind of expect that from prison, to be honest. So it works.
I mean, for me, for the guys,
two-way mirrors as well.
So yeah, they're doing this whole thing, this whole 3-day thing to get a month off their prison sentences, and just the demeanor of these characters made me think, why have these people been picked? Like, how bad is the prison that they're all in for these people to be the most promising bunch? Fez says it in the chat as well. Hateful Eight loathed all of the characters. I said this backstage. I was like, I didn't like any of them. And this Mike guy, the dude on the far left, he was a massive cockwomble, and
Yeah.
if he was supposed to get some, I felt like the film was trying to set him up to have some sort of redemption arc, and it was like, no.
Yeah, they did. They gave what's the phrase? A face turn.
Yeah, face turn. Yeah, I mean, this lad weren't going to be a baby face anytime soon. It was just.
It's very weird how they try and turn him around and make him the good lad. But
it's like, dude, this guy's Mason Greenwood allegedly.
I'm lost on that one, but
it's a football thing.
This is going to be 3 weeks of references that me and Proper Horror Show don't get.
That's okay. I mean, how many?
Yeah. No,
how many weird references do I just trot out every single week, and you guys are like, oh yeah, okay. 1940s film again. Okay. Bless you.
I'm not complaining. It's part of the charm of the stream.
Yeah. His just the kind of absolute filth she's in. This is a scene where I don't even remember the name. I think is she
oh God,
what's the character name? I didn't bother remembering any of their names.
I literally watched this 4 hours ago and I can't remember.
It's a bad sign, isn't it? I remember Zoe is the thief and Kira, because their names get said a lot by other characters.
Was she Christine?
I think possibly she is Christine.
Yeah, I think she's Christine. See, this is one of the things about this film. It wasn't really, I watched this earlier today myself, Trig, and I mean, I've seen this film quite a few times, and I still don't remember the names. I'm literally just Google can be your friend from time to time.
Yeah.
It's got that Friday.
IMDb.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys, if it seems unprofessional, but a lot of the stuff isn't massively memorable. It's kind of got that Friday the 13th sequel effect where you just. I don't think they expect you to know the characters' names either. In fact, they didn't name Kane in this. Kane's character. They had someone say his name, and then they'd accidentally edited it out because it was part of a long speech.
Brilliant. See, that's the thing. That's the thing. Again, I think the problem with that, why we're not remembering character names, is because these characters that they have made are just awful people. They're awful characters that you don't.
I mean, I don't know.
They're consistent with it. They're consistent. Like, what I mean is they're consistent.
Yeah.
Like they're all in prison, so we're not expecting them to be like regular churchgoers or anything like that. The point is, they're arseholes.
Mm.
And
I wouldn't say all eight of them are though.
We do. Here's the thing: we get from her a kind of interesting thing that she's in prison because she did something horrible to her stepfather.
Oh yeah.
Because of something he did to her sister, which is really, really dark. But we don't get any details of it, and it's kind of dropped, and then it's never mentioned again.
That's true. To be fair, I think it's Christina. I'm just gonna call her Christina. Bogger it. I mean, she kind of is the exception.
But if you drop that scene, you would not know the detailing. Well, I mean, they set her out to be the warmest of the bunch, which is quite nice and quite welcome.
Yeah.
But,
I thought, is Kira the tattooed one?
Kira is the tattooed one, yeah.
Yeah. I thought she was the nicest out of all of them. I found her fairly likable. I don't like you're saying they're all douchey. I mean.
That shower scene was kind of endearing, huh?
It was, yeah. I could tell when I was told that he did, pornos. I'm like, I could tell.
I just want to check: am I roboting for anyone else? Can you just let me know if it's okay or if I'm roboting?
It's fine.
On my
Not
end.
much robot at all.
Okay, cool. Sorry, Maverick. I hope it's okay on your end.
And the two guys that went looking for the safe, I found them all right.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
too
they were
many
okay.
issues.
They almost
Yes.
it was almost a bit sort of, why are these people, criminals, actually, because they were the most sort of teenager high schooler type characters.
Well, one of them was in for computer fraud, so he's gonna be like that. I can't remember what the other one was in for, what the black guy was in for, but they were
They were going to go and find the safe and get rich, even though they were going to go off to prison after this, and how they're going to get the money out. Yeah, either way.
I mean, true, they didn't think it through, but it's kind of like, if you're a teenager, I guess you don't think that far, because these are supposed to be like, I mean, they are juveniles, aren't they? Like, I don't know.
They certainly come across that way, yes.
Yes. I also like, with the cleaning bit, Margaret says, like, girls, what was it? Girls get trash bags, boys get brooms, and then every scene after that, they're doing the opposite. The girls are doing the brushing, and the boys have the garbage bags. It's like exactly the opposite, but at least Mike's mopping, but then he uses his mop as a toilet plunger. And everything about the cleaning, I was like, now you say he's a porno. It's like a plumber going over, and then he's like, "Oh, fix your pipes," and then use the mop to put it in. Like, that's what it reminds me of.
Oh God, do you remember that? Do you remember that one scene when Kira and Mike? I think she's just had a shower, and she comes out, and obviously, I think this is when you know it's Kane who's watching her, because one of the telltale signs that he's around is you get the flies whizzing around the place. But Mike goes into the bathroom, and she's like, "How did you get in? The door was locked." And he was like, "Oh, what is it?" He says. He says something like, "I thought you were used to me coming in through the back door." And I was like,
"Yes."
Yeah, very
smart
porno.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are getting told that we're getting a little bit of roboting here, so I'm not sure if there's anything I can do about that.
It seems to be fine, kind of to each other on the panel, but I think something between Streamlabs and YouTube is screwing up, so that might be why it's going a bit like that, because everything's been fine on my end.
Yeah, sorry folks, I hope it clears up. I'm not sure if I can do anything. I would like to if I can, but I don't know if I can do anything.
If it's fine on this end, it's probably okay in the replay.
Oh, okay, good. Right, our fingers are crossed for that, folks. On the matter of the side plot that I thought was quite silly but fun, the matter of the computer fraud guy and the what did he do actually? I was trying to Haryan. I don't think of him like that. He's a criminal. Okay, I try and see the criminal in him. What was he actually?
Don't say 1350.
No, Haryan.
Don't do it.
Disavow.
Disavow.
Well, what did I say?
Okay, Rory's telling us.
Where's Super Nanny? Where's Super Nanny?
Where is she? All right,
that's a naughty step for you, Haryan. That's unacceptable.
What did I do? I just said two numbers. What's the issue?
I'm gonna have to pull up a separate Super Nanny. I do have one for the occasion. But carry on, Haryan.
I am trying to find out what the I should really learn his name. The black guy did though.
I just want to know what he was in for. Was it robbery or something?
I'm trying to find out. It probably, I don't know. I don't think he actually gets an intro screen.
No, he does. He does.
Ty, what was he? He could crack safes. He was lock picking as well.
That's right.
That'll be a break and enter.
It was a break and enter.
See, this stuff in the writing I like. He breaks and enters, therefore he knows how to pick locks. It's great. but yeah, we're on to the cleaning bits now. So you have that little bit with Mike in the toilets, and he unclogs the toilet with a mop for some reason. Oh no!
I've got it. I'll just swap it out for Susan. I'll give you a
no.
Susan version of this.
Oh, girls get it done. And yeah, Mike starts getting like dust put on him because someone's walking above him. Little does he know it's Jacob. So he breaks a pipe off the toilet, which what's the point in cleaning the toilet if you're just going to break the plumbing? But I guess he's an idiot and doesn't think of that.
Gosh, they're really not going to manage their feat of cleaning the entire hotel in 3 days now. Oh dear.
I don't think the idea was they clean it in 3 days anyway.
Well, no, I was trying to
be.
be annoyed at it, but you see it, and there is like a low-key cleverness in it.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
That comes in later.
Yeah. So he, but that's also introduced how Mike gets his pipe, and then the audience realise he's being watched by Jacob, and I'm like, oh, that's effective for me. I'm kind of liking this. Clearly, there's something more going on than just them brushing the place down, which they're obviously never going to do. And then we have the scene with Christina and was it Melissa? Who was the other one? The other girl who smokes. That you get a little interaction between them.
Christine and Kira.
Kira, yeah. Little interaction with them. It's like fine, and then the cop comes in, and then it plays this like music, like this sting, as if it's like, oh, they're gonna get killed or something. And he's just like, oh, give me a cigarette. It's like, well, is that supposed to get me? I'm confused.
I have a feeling the director almost went on autopilot with that scenario and set up a very different scene, but managed to restrain himself last minute.
Just yeah.
Lol.
Yeah. So yeah, he gets a cigarette and then goes off, and then the girls are like, "Oh, do you reckon he whacks off with that prosthetic hand?"
That was probably the scene he had in. That was probably the scene the director had in mind.
That was one of the lines of dialogue I just found really weird in this film. Sort of things like that would come out, and they're very crass,
Yeah,
again,
I mean,
again, it's the time. It was the time, wasn't it? It was like the mid 2000s, the mid noughties. Edgy humor was quite a thing, and also WWE was going in that direction at the time as well. So again, for me, it was definitely consistent.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally for. I can believe that girls in prison talk like that. To be honest, well, with more natural dialogue, but well, you get what I mean. But yeah, so they were mopping, and then you go to the boys who were putting things in trash bags, even though they were told to mop.
I love how specific that catch is. It's brilliant.
I just didn't get it. It's like, because my head was going right. Girls are with trash bags, boys with brooms, and then it's the other way round. And I just couldn't get over it, even though it doesn't matter for the rest of the film. But yeah, you get Ty and computer fraud guy. I can't remember his name. And the computer fraud guy's like, oh, I snagged these blueprints, which. Computer fraud guy probably could get them off some website or something. I can believe that. And then wanted to be chosen to go in there to do it. And I'm like, right, that's set up why he's there. And he needs a lockpick to open the safe. This is good. This is pretty decent writing. So they end up going to the 7th or 8th floor. Can't remember which one. This is after the scene with... Christina talking to the officer, talking about why she's in prison, and he says, "Oh, you're most likely to reform because what you did was justified in a way." But we went through that before. She was basically got revenge on her sister. And it's like that's neat, bit of character development. And then they have the meal in the atrium, and that's. Again, they're all just talking, but there's not a lot to go off with this dialogue. It's just there's no point really describing these characters because they don't impact the film that much in terms of their character.
There's a very little thing where the kind of classic thing where you get one bit of information about them, like One of them's a vegan, which is an interesting
Yeah.
setup that becomes quite funny later.
Yeah, and then she feeds a dog, Mike's, because he's a massive twat, throws a can at it. And he's like, "Oh, who cares? It's starving."
Yeah, see,
Yeah,
at
they
that,
try and... Sorry, go ahead.
I was to say, at that point, any redemption arc is out the window for me. I was like, you're trying to hurt a dog, mate. Get out.
And
Yeah,
yet,
you don't hurt the dog. Basic stuff. Sorry, Trey, go ahead.
I was going to say, and yet he's one of the ones that basically walks out at the end of it, which
I
is
know.
annoying.
Yeah.
The one guy you really want to die, he doesn't.
But
The last
but I
person
mean,
who should be getting a face turn. Shocking.
but
Stuff.
yeah, as I say, it's pretty clever because the two girls, Melissa and Kira, they were trying to like escape before. They were like, "Oh, we can climb down this window," and then she's like, "This just takes you to the atrium, though." And then they look at where the stray dog came from. They're like, "Oh, maybe that leads outside." They don't actually go anywhere with it.
It does raise an interesting question, though, about the plan to raid the safe.
Yeah.
They're going to be taken back to prison, so...
Yeah, I didn't get this. It's like, oh, we'll get all this money or whatever, and when we get out, we'll be rich. It's like, but you do realise you're going to have to take that money with you back into prison.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. They can find it. They can find out where it is. And see if it's unlockable. See if there is actually riches there, and they could just leave it there till they come back. Because as they say, they're not going to use the 7th or 8th floor, so it's going to be hidden there anyway. So it doesn't really matter that they can't.
There is also but there's also the risk that someone else would find it before them, or while they're
Well, they can hide. Well, they can hide it elsewhere then. Like they can. There's a lot you can do.
But where are they going to put it? Because they're under. They're. I know that they're cleaning the hotel, making it prim and proper for all the vagrants, but they're still being minded by the one-armed bandit.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like, okay, find the safe day one, try and find the safe. If they do find it, day two, go back up, unlock it, put the money in. Somewhere else. I don't know where. Like they'll work. It's not. Yeah. They could put it between walls and then hide one of the secret passages. I don't know. They could do it. I don't know, and I don't think they thought that far ahead. But it's not the worst idea to just go. Let's at least find the crate first and cross the other bridges when they come to it. And I think that's how teenagers would think anyway, if they're like this. So I don't think it's that much of an issue. It's my argument.
I think the intent. I think their intention was to take it with them.
I don't know.
That was the vibe.
As if they were just trying to find it.
Yeah, that was the vibe I was getting.
Prison with you is a terrible idea.
Yeah, I know, right? But think of all the cigarettes you could buy. You'd still be a rich man.
And also, I imagine they'll have friends outside of prison, so they'll find it, unlock it, leave it there, say to their other friends. Like they can do loads, but they don't go into what their plan is after they find it. I don't think that's an issue.
This was the mid 2000s again. Computer nerd. I don't think he had many friends. I'm joking.
Yeah. What do you mean? He'll know the hacker known as 4chan.
Yeah, there you go. Just store it in this van safely here. Oh no! Oh dear.
Yeah. Go on. You first.
Unfortunately, their plans don't quite get to come to fruition.
Yeah. And we'll find out why, because we're still in the atrium. And then because Mike annoyed everyone because he's a douche, he's just like, he gets the drugs off the other guy gave them to before, and he's like, how about a peace offering? We'll smoke up some of this dank weed. I assume it was weed. I don't know, drugs.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That was.
I love how they were making that the weed out to be like this massive thing. It's like, oh yeah, check this shit out, man. It's good. Shit. I mean, obviously, like
it's organic,
like that, but yeah, but it was just like, the way they were trying to sell it. It sounded like they were talking about like crack or meth or something like that.
Yeah,
it's like, oh mate, we're well edgy. Look, we're smoking weed. It's like, okay, yeah, all right, mate. Have you tried DMT?
Maybe hash. I don't know.
For all the time we spent talking about the plan with the safe, And picking on that point, I have seen a few people raise a serious problem with it being a plot hole that they were able to get drugs in prison.
Oh, no, it's not.
That isn't.
Massive plot hole.
Is that a plot hole?
That's possibly the most realistic part of the movie.
Oh, that makes sense. So what they were going to do is they were going to find the cash, buy drugs, and take the drugs into prison. That way they could get it in, and then when they leave, they just redistribute it back on the streets and get the cash back with profits. Step one.
They're thinking ahead. Oh,
Yeah,
brilliant.
I stand corrected.
Yeah.
Don't forget, in the atrium, we also learn how very successful a flirtation technique it is to offer a girl some potato salad.
Oh, that is true. Bitches love salad.
They live in Florida.
But then they'll just feed it to dogs anyway. Oh. Jesus, like my girlfriend. So, yeah, we're then back in the hotel rooms, and it just sets up that basically Mike and... I can only call him the Hispanic because I can't remember his name. They're going to go with two of the girls to smoke the dank kush, as the kids say.
Oh yeah, there's a whole character I forgot about. Two characters I forgot about.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's like
What?
The other guy, the guy who hits on the vegan. That's all I have him saved in my head.
He's literally a nobody in the film. We then get the shower scene with is it Melissa? Was it Kira? Yeah,
Kira.
Kira.
Kira, sorry, yeah. We then get the shower scene with Kira. It's just she thinks she's being watched by Jacob, or well, by someone anyway. I think it's implied that it's. Oh no, it isn't implied. It's definitely Jacob. Yeah. And then she gets the feeling she's being watched, so she puts a towel on. She's like, "Oh, who's creeping on me?"
Quite a sleazy scene, I thought. Like it was
yeah,
a bit more than expected.
Yeah, and then Mike comes in, gets a bit handsy. Oh, you should be used to be coming through the back door. There's only one door into that bathroom. What?
Yeah. But
I hate to break it to you, Harry. He wasn't talking about doors.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he goes in and he goes a bit Mason Greenwood.
Hey.
In the scene. Is that too soon?
No, mate, it's not soon enough. Absolute scumbag.
Well, yeah. For those of you that don't know, that's a footballer who's a rapist.
Allegedly. Although it's pretty damning. I'll just point out as well, I'm a Man United fan, and as a Man United fan, Mason Greenwood, a Man United player, has absolutely brought shame upon the club, and I wholly disavow his actions. Disgusting.
Exactly. But then, while Kira's being Greenwooded, isn't it? Christina just happens to come in and says, "Hey, get your hands off her." And then he goes out and calls them bitches, and I'm like, wow, that was a really weird scene.
He's a very unlikable character. I hope we aren't asked to see him redeemed in any way later in the film.
Yeah, I mean, what gets me as well is I don't think anyone would be caught dead in that shower. It was horrible. I wouldn't feel clean.
You feel, no, you'd feel worse. You feel dirtier than when you first got in. Yeah, no, totally with you on that one.
There is probably something we should raise here, and we should consider whether there was a genuine attempt to be clever.
Go on.
Okay, so we've talked about how the editing and visuals are massively indebted to Seven and to Saw. Well, I think I just said Saw, but my sort of 5 drinks in theory is that Saw is basically just the result of watching Seven and Cube in one afternoon. But I digress.
Saw is definitely derived from Cube.
Definitely,
Cube's such a good movie.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Two films. They came out the same year. You can't tell me that the director didn't just have a double bill and then just decide to. Anyway,
such a good idea.
obvious Saw reference. We're going to get onto something that I think is quite a reference to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre later.
Yes.
Did they throw in a shower scene where someone is clearly watching and possibly relieving themselves in a rusticular manner? Was this thrown in?
Whacking themselves off with a prosthetic hand.
Was it a reference to Psycho?
Oh,
Given, I mean, you could say that for anything. Oh, shower scene, Psycho.
Yeah.
But given the sort of mother-son dynamics that are in here, I don't know, man. I think it might be. I think it might be deliberate. I think that reference to Psycho is definitely solid and there.
I think that definitely has merit. Again, I was thinking more Friday the 13th, with the relationship with Jason and
Yes.
and his mother there. But I can definitely take that, what you just said about the shower scene being a homage to Psycho, because he definitely had the peephole as well.
You've got enough elements there.
Yeah.
I see people have actually been plucking the like button straight out of the eye sockets of the channel. Much appreciated, folks, if you've been doing that. So I think it's in there. Let's move on from that surprisingly steamy scene.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Yes. We're then up to the two guys. Ty and whatever the computer fraud guy's name is.
Richie
Go
Rich.
around- Richie, that was it.
He kept calling him Richie Rich.
Yeah. They're going around looking for the safe on the 7th or 8th floor, the one that burned out ones. And yet we have a lock picking issue again. That's not how you pick locks.
No, I don't. Yeah.
To be fair, it's slightly better than the ones in Misery, but it's still not very. You don't just put 2 hairpins in and fiddle around a bit. Like you need a screwdriver or something. You need something to actually turn it.
Yes.
But anyway, it wasn't as bad as Misery. I'll say that much. But
the first time, but then later in the film, he's picking locks in about 2 seconds.
that is possible, but not with 2 hair clips.
No.
Well, you're not a professional lockpicker, Haryan, so how can you really say that?
I've picked locks.
Yeah, but you're not professional.
Well, no, I've not stolen after I've picked locks.
Well, that doesn't. Well, there you go. So you're not a professional, are you?
I've got a weird feeling that Trig. I've got a weird feeling that you know lockpicking.
I have, a little, a bit, maybe.
I get a vibe.
But
I think you can pick locks in a couple of seconds, but you wouldn't do it with hairpins. You do it with what is it? The
You need a rake.
you need the rake, you need the proper tool, but
Yeah.
and usually there's the rake, and then there's, like you say, a screwdriver or something solid that you can actually turn the barrel once you've actually pushed the tumblers out.
Well, I've seen ones that are sort of custom to specific locks, and you just sort of jam it in, and it's done automatically. It's like some kind of weird.
The police have got a great piece of kit where they can just put it in and pump it, and it's just got a number of little pins.
Not the Met
Pins
Police.
that-
Family
Yeah.
stream. Family
just-
stream tree.
We're not talking about Greenwood anymore, guys. Come on.
Yeah, but no, I think I've seen that kit as well.
Yeah, it's if it's the one I'm thinking of, it does destroy the lock, but you do open it in very short time.
No, they can open quite a. I had an incident where I actually had to elicit the aid of a policeman to open my car a long time ago, and they just
There we go.
and it was
Bump
open
key.
within seconds.
I think bump key is what I'm thinking of.
Yes, I think.
Sorry, Trig. We get distracted by this. There are a few things that we notice in every horror film that always gets picked on, which is bad lock picking and bullet autism. So
the bullet autism's a big one.
Yeah.
Don't get me on bullet autism. I am the world's worst for it.
I know you know your guns.
For
Oh,
hours
no.
on guns.
I mean that's why this film's good. There's only ever like one bullet shot.
4, I counted.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And I only counted because I knew that you'd be counting.
Yeah. What is it? Oh yeah, I remember the other shots. Yeah. But I mean, what was it? The 2011 Fright Night had good luck picking in it. Because he couldn't do it after doing a quick Google of how to do it, which I thought was good. But yeah, we've got the other setup scene with the other girls. It's like, what's she called? Melissa and Zoe are going up with the boys to smoke the dank kush, while Kira and Christina gonna try and find another escape route, which is, fair enough. And then we've got the officer and his woman drinking. I can't remember their names.
It doesn't matter really. She doesn't get to do much. But
No.
Oh,
It's there's someone in the elevator. Oh, I'll go up and have a look.
yeah.
Well, they have the nice little
Yeet.
scene where he's like, "Why'd you wear the wedding ring on the right finger?" And she's like, "Oh,
I'm
I'm
test
test
driving
driving it. I don't know if basically I don't know if I'm gonna marry him yet." And then he basically just says, "Well, I'd do it, otherwise you might miss your chance." And I thought that's quite neat. That's at least there are 2 actually likable characters in this film.
it's quite nice. I wasn't sure about just like wearing the ring, even on the wrong finger, to try it out. I wasn't sure about that, but also the glasses they were drinking from were filthy, and that
They were
upset me.
gross,
that
weren't they?
put me off. Yeah.
What was that? Sorry, I missed that bit. I was reading the chat. Maverick said, "At least we don't watch prawn, or else there'd be jism-tism."
Oh no.
Straight through me.
There is a lot of spunk in porn films. I'm not gonna lie, more than I expect.
There is also a very interesting money shot in this film, but of a different kind, I believe.
Oh god!
But this is a family-friendly stream, so. We're not gonna...
But no, just everything in this film's filthy, and I don't know why people are either eating or drinking in there. Like put them up in like a hostel or something. Jesus.
I'm still upset by the fact that they got potato salad in a takeaway. It's just
yeah, that is weird.
It's so odd.
It might have been from a deli, to be fair, which isn't too bad. So yeah, we're back to Richie and Ty, and they're searching around, and they see a few similar maps to what they have on the floor next to a bottle of whiskey, and they're like, why? And then they find out why, because there's a dead body. Which, yeah, there was good dialogue here, and I can't remember what it. Oh yeah, Ty they see it, and it's clearly like a cadaver, and Richie's like, check it out. So Ty just goes down and goes, he's dead. I really like that line. And then they're like, oh, maybe he died in the fire. It's like, no, that was 30 years ago. This is like pretty fresh. And then they see that he lifts his head up, they search the body, and they find out he doesn't have any eyes. And this way it gets a bit weird. Like, Richie then goes in a panic attack / then tries to find the safe really quickly. And he just runs off, and Ty's like, where are you going? And I was like, yeah, where are you going? Because he's like panicking. But then he stops, gets out his map, and he's like, oh, where am I going next? And I'm like, now if you're panicking, you just run. You don't really think. You definitely don't stop and think, like, look at your map. But then, oh no, the elevator doors open behind him while Ty's trying to look for him, and oh no, big man with chain and hook throws it perfectly into his calf. And then I really like this scene where he's being dragged back, and Ty kind of watches the whole thing.
Yeah,
and I really like as well the editing where it's like there's some normal speed, and then it speeds up a few frames, and then goes back to normal a bit. I found that really effective.
I found some of it quite jarring.
Well, that's what I mean by effective, to be honest.
Yeah,
right.
That's the point. Is because the other thing is let's face it, Kane's character is very badly brain damaged.
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
shot from the beginning, and I think that's the whole point, is to
Oh, okay.
see the world through his sort of disjointed, broken view of
And
the world.
he's got what I will put in a YouTube friendly manner. He's got R word strength.
Yes.
Yes, he has.
Which
I also think that the angle they used for when Richie.
Yeah.
Oh, we've looked at his name so many times. Richie, our computer guy. When he slaps on the floor, they use a really good change to an angle so he lands hard. And then the slow-mo kicks in, and it's like you get the feeling of he's had the wind knocked out of him and he's so disorientated at that point. That was nice editing. That was very nice.
Yeah.
It was a really good work from someone who's only done porn.
Yeah.
They put an effort into it, you know.
Yeah, they've definitely put in effort, and I think he knows what he's looking at. I think I can say it without dropping a big spoiler for you. But there is a similar way that the main villain in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is introduced, just coming into view slowly behind the characters. I won't be more specific, but if you've seen the film, you know exactly what I mean. And I think they were influenced by it without completely ripping it off. I also want to ask at this point, is there anything like that Kane is doing that's like a signature move at this point? Like, is he doing the Kane equivalent of a Stone Cold Stunner on people?
No.
Okay.
In fact, there's a not at this stage. No.
Is there any in the film?
There could potentially, you could argue, there might look like there's one.
Yeah, I mean, you bring it up when we get there, I guess, because I don't know. But yeah, so Ty sees all this and sneaks off because the man's got the man threw a hook in a man's leg. You don't want to mess with him.
Yeah, he's a giant.
Yeah,
with a hook on a chain.
Yeah, you do not want to play superhero. So, and then we go back to the bar, and Margaret goes to the woman and officer and says, "Oh, there's someone in the elevator," and the woman's like, "Oh, I'll do this one." So she goes to the elevator. I like the bit where she switches the ring from finger to finger, and she says, "Oh, I'll commit to this then." It's a shame that this is the end of a character arc, and that's literally all she had, because she then fucking dies.
Yeah, I didn't expect her to go at this stage.
No, it was a bit of a weird one as well. I mean, we'll go through the mechanics of the kill first, just because we'll talk for ages about her character after, because she gets off at the wrong floor because she's not actually in control of the elevator, so she goes up to floor 7 or 8, can't remember, and she looks around, she's like, why have I stopped here? And then she presses 2 again, and then a fly goes up to her. She looks to the right to swat the fly away, and then straight after that she looks forward, a hand grabs her neck, and Kane's to her right where she was just looking. And I don't know how the mechanics of that works.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was
total editing cheat.
Yeah, but then I kind of like the kill because, I mean, all you do there is having come from the left instead. But he throws her up to the ceiling. Her head smashes on the ceiling of the elevator, the lift, and then there's blood left there as well. There's a blood mark on the lift.
Blood and hair stuck on the ceiling.
Yeah, that's how hard she's gone into it. And then it does a little close up of her hand with a ring on. And then Kane just throws her again so that her kind of head gets crushed by the lift doors, and I'm just like, why?
I did pick up in this film that he was doing a lot of women respecting in this movie.
Yeah,
there was a lot of male feminist action going on.
Yeah, and then you get a nice clue.
Definitely.
And then you get a nice shot of him taking her eye out. which is another time I had to look away from the screen.
They don't mess around, do they?
No, I like, apart from the mechanics of the fight being of the kill being like he just appears. I kind of like this. I kind of like both the kills at the moment. They're just simple, which is what I really like, because Scream just started to get a bit ridiculous with them.
Yeah,
Especially the house scene. But this is nice, simple. You know, he's dragging one off, he's killing the other. That's all you want.
it is interesting to note that, let's say, in maybe 5 years earlier, there'd have been a chase scene. There'd been maybe a 4 or 5 minute chase scene at this point.
Possibly, yeah.
They didn't do this. It's just like, oh, there you go.
Take
Trig,
the eye out, put it in the jar. Yeah.
Yes.
Trig, what was your take on this and the old eyeballs peeping?
Oh, I love the way they're doing the eyeball squishing. I mean, it's very, very easy one to do, because you just need a camera at the side of the head, and then they can be sticking your thumb in a jam jar or something next to it out of the camera shot. It looks good. You got a nice good squish, and then out comes the eye and plop in a jar. Lovely. And everyone's a bit squeamish about the eyes. Yes. No, great fun, and you're absolutely right. Very, very easily could have been a running down the hall, looking behind themselves, not seeing anything, screaming, and then a shadow or a chase scene, as you say. But they didn't do that. They didn't. There was none of that. He was just suddenly he was there, and then he was grabbing them, or the hook was out, and then whap. He did seem to trap people in the door of both of the first 2 kills. Got trapped in the door of the elevator. I was like, is this going to be a regular trope of him just sort of slamming elevator doors on people? And that was only those 2, but it was the first 2 who both got the elevator door, which incidentally have elevator doors closing on you will do nothing at all. They've got like sensors, and it would have been absolutely nothing. No damage from that.
I was a bit confused with that, but kind of watching back through, like the first time he doesn't really put him in, but he kind of puts him in. He gets put between the doors because he's kind of clumsily trying to get him in the elevator. And then the next one, he's not trying to crush her with it. He's turning her over so he can get her eyes out. Yeah. So it's not. Yeah. So it's kind of just.
It wouldn't have been a crush. I've stuck my foot in an elevator door before, and it just. The moment they feel any resistance, they stop. By the way, don't actually anyone listening ever try that, because obviously safety, etc., etc. I don't want people coming back. You told me this was safe, and now I've got one leg.
Please mind the rules.
Yes.
So I mean that. Yeah. So about half an hour in the film, and we've had 2 quick succession. Well, one's a kill, the others are just dragging away. What happens to him? So we go back to Christina and Kira. Yeah,
so memorable.
I know. And this was a weird bit as well. They go to the kitchen to try and what's she called? Christina stays watch. Kira's there to try and open a window. It's clearly not got any way of opening, but she still grabs a spatula to try and flick the window open or something. And as she's doing that, she's stood on the counter. A fly goes near her, and it kind of spooks her, and she falls backwards. Which, by the way, another thing, all the girls are wearing really high heels, and they're doing a cleaning job. What the hell?
Well, none of them are dressed for the work, but can we really
dressed as if they've been in prison either?
I suppose you could say the correctional facility doesn't know that this is a bogus task, and so probably should have insisted they dress properly.
Yeah, I mean, kind of jeans and it's the footwear that got me the most. And yeah, someone mentioned before they just never tie their hair back. But nice. But this fall from the kitchen counter makes a massive noise. So the officer Christina goes in and is like, "Oh, what's going on?" And Kira's just like, "Just keep him distracted." So she does for a bit. Can't remember how. Don't really care. because she
I don't
starts
think the film cared either.
no, because she just tries to get up again, but then out of the dummy waiter comes Kane, hook straight through the right shoulder, just drags her, goes in the dummy waiter. It's very quick and efficient, and I really like that about these attacks. And then she's screaming and then they all run in. It's like, yeah.
I will raise a small quibble with it, and you can shout me down, but at the I see no way that 6'7" Kane is getting in a dumbwaiter,
especially with someone else. Yeah,
yeah.
Halloween
H20 makes a very big point of you can do it, but you have to be a small goth, and even then, it's a tight fit. Make your own joke there.
All right. But as you know, Halloween H20 isn't canon anymore, so debunked, I'm afraid.
I mean, all right, ready or not, they had her getting in a dumbwaiter as well. So.
Oh yeah, they did. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty irresistible, isn't it, in storytelling? If you've got a dumbwaiter, you have to put a person in it.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'll kind of say back to that is that it was a very large dumbwaiter. Like, we saw them both fit in it, so I don't know. It's I don't know why you'd have one that big, but I guess it's a hotel. I guess you can make some sense in that. Because obviously you'll want to send lots of trays up, but yeah, I don't think it's that big an issue, personally. So then Christina and the officer, they go in the lift to get to the 7th floor to try and chase the dumbwaiter.
Right, hold on.
Oh wait.
Oh, okay.
TCG's picked it up.
This is the first one. So what? Again, it's not massive, and to be honest, it's probably funnier in my own head. But at the beginning, when they go there, they're told explicitly, right, that they're there because they're going to spruce it up a little bit to turn it into a homeless shelter. Just before they're getting in the lift, they're talking like, could it possibly be someone else in the house? And then the woman turns around and says, "Nah, we kicked all the homeless people out before you guys came." I was just like, wait, what?
I mean, that should be questionable for the officer at that point, but I guess he's chasing.
And
because are you making this a homeless shelter?
Exactly. Yeah. Well,
I mean, in the film's defense, they are trying to kind of save Kira at this point, so they won't be thinking that. But
no. But it was just really funny, but it then ties into the second point, which I'll stop you when we get there. But I do remember he does give her the phone and says, "All right, go and call 911, Margaret." She's like, "Okay, yeah, we'll do." And off she trots, and then they get in the lift and off you go.
That's exactly what I was going to point out. The standard thing is, why aren't you calling the police? And well, they gave Margaret the phone.
Yep. So Margaret, go and phone the police.
Yeah. And she disappears from the movie for the next 40 minutes or something
like that.
Yeah.
She knows what she's doing, but I thought that was quite nicely done.
Yeah. Like, smart writing, I thought. Officer can't do two things at once. So we've then got the 4 druggies. Mike's just being a nonce again with the pole, just smashing everything, and it's like, oh, you're trying to get us caught. Whatever, he's just being a dick. It's just that's his character.
Yeah.
But there's just establishing that they're in their drug floor, while Christina and the officer have finally got out, and Ty's doing his best to find a way out. It gets really annoying. He's like trying doors and they're not working. I mean, he's a lockpicker. But then he gets mad and hits a wall, and then a load of cockroaches come out of it, and I'm just like, wow, that was a lot of weird for this scene.
Yeah.
It's an interesting effect, and they don't really do anything with it. After they did that, I expected him to hit it more and break into the secret passages, but
no, he then just tries. He then just tries another door, and then he lockpicks that one. So it's like, okay, why are they making these decisions now? But as he's doing that, obviously he gets caught by Christine and he opens it and then he gets caught by Christine and the officer, and he says, "Oh, I saw the guy. He's like, oh, what is he? He's like, oh, I don't know. He had a hole in his head. Well, he says big guy with a chain at first, but I don't get how he knew he had a hole in his head.
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't pick up on that if that's what I saw, but we've been through other films and they point out witnesses remember nothing useful. So, but it just so happens that it's like a hole in the head, and that makes the officer go, oh, "It's him." I don't think you could conclude that.
I know. I thought that. I thought it's a bit. There's not a lot of information to go on, really, is there?
No, it's like big guy, chain hook, hole in the head. It's like, oh, that must be that big guy with the axe that I shot. What? Is it?
But he's surprised, isn't he? Like, I shot him in the head. He should be dead. But
yeah.
But he wasn't.
Well, a body was never found. Like, he could have died and like drifted off in a canal or something. I don't know. But I was going to say as well, but they can fix that. All they have to say is, "Oh, I found bodies with eyes being plucked out," and he'd remember that woman, and then that would be more conclusive. But they don't go
that would
way.
have done it. That would have done the job.
But it's like, as I say. So in terms of issues, yeah, it is one, but easily fixable in the script. So, what else can we say?
Yeah, your man doesn't get much of a chance to bring his expert knowledge to bear, though.
Wait.
Oh,
this is where the second bit comes.
Yeah. I do just want to say. I mean, I think it's before we get to that because he explains like how he killed his victims, and he says, "Oh, he killed all his victims except one who had like a cross tattoo on her." Mm-hmm. Which again sets up a bit later, and I mean, I picked up on that, and I was like, "Oh, does that mean Kira's going to live then?" I turned out to be true, and this is what I mean. I like the writing.
I thought it was a little blatant to tell you why he didn't kill her, whereas like we already know he's got a religious obsession from the iconography.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like, clunky dialogue, I guess. I guess it could have been subtler, but
it's like there are secret passages, but we've never found them.
Again, I think that's more clunky dialogue than something I just wouldn't say. Yeah, but it's a WWE film, so I'm letting clunky dialogue go a bit. Really, it's still bad.
It is a junior writer, and the writer did just write for WB. So
I just want to point out as well, it's in this scene as well. This is the second bit where I think it's Christina turns around to the cop and is like, "Didn't Margaret phone 911?" And I swear to God, he turns around and his words to her, again, hold on, make sure I don't butcher this. Yeah, his words to her are, "I don't know if she could."
What?
Yeah, like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I don't know if she could. Like, are you saying there's no mobile phone signal? Are you saying that she's too old to be able to use a mobile phone? Bearing in mind this is what 2006, the smartphones aren't a thing, so she'd still be able to press the numbers on the keypad and push the big green button with that tells you to call. I'm thinking, like, what do you mean? What do you mean?
It's 2006. She was holed up in the bar with Rum playing Snake 2. You'll never get off that thing.
I didn't think of that. Yeah, Snake, of course.
Oh, yeah, just one more go, and then I'll call the cops.
Yeah, if he added my mum the phone, to be fair, 911 definitely wouldn't have been called.
Yeah.
We've got Snake too. Oh, I like that one.
I mean, I've just realised as well, like before he like goes out, he's got a gun in his right hand, which is his working hand, and he's like telling the others like, "Oh, take this taser," which he takes out with his bad arm that doesn't have grip.
Oh no!
I'm like, how? Well, I know how in terms of like the film, like meta, but I like, how would he do it with a grip for a hand? Yeah,
Velcro on the palm of the hand. That's it. Slap it on.
Oh yeah, the old Velcro taser. Yeah.
And he's just like, "Oh, take this taser. I'm gonna kill him myself. You guys gotta go." And as they're like protesting, again, it's what I quite like. From the floor above, a hook comes in, grabs him, hot fuzz style through the bottom of the jaw.
It was the longest hook swing, though. It felt like it took forever to actually make contact.
I don't know actually how he managed. I mean, the hole, he would have had to shoot it out through the hole at an angle and get it to. It was clever. I don't know how he did it, but
It's always
oof.
it's almost like the prison guard man had to like tilt his head back for it to make the contact to pierce through the way it did. Like he just here it comes, and it's like again it's like the Austin Powers steamroller scene. No, because it feels like it's taking forever. So he's like, hey, let me get in my position, lean my head back. Oh, and there we go. Bring me up, Kane.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of liked it.
Yeah, it was good. No, don't get me wrong. It was good. I just sort of found it funny how long it just seemed to take. If you go back and watch it,
it's a slow.
It feels slow. Yeah, it's unnaturally slow, isn't it?
But
I liked it. I liked it.
You know, take away the authority figure again.
Yeah.
You know, all the authority figures off.
I didn't think he'd die like that quickly. But both them dying as quick as they did, I'm like, oh, interesting. How's this gonna go then? Because he comes back down with both his eyes missing.
What I really thought was clever is he lets off a few shots, and then it sort of the camera's sort of up the top, looking down at the two teenagers, and after he's let the shots off, you can sort of just see like the side of his body. Sort of out of focus, and he sort of drops his hand down with the gun in his hand, but it doesn't look like but interestingly, it doesn't look like that he's dead. So you can sort of like, is he? Isn't he? Has he just put the gun has he just rested the gun down by his side? And then of course he then crashes down to the floor. So you do get a sort of could he be? But yeah, I was a bit gutted that he was gone, because one of the things about this film that got me was. I struggled to sort of work out who, like, the main character would be. Like, would it be the prison officer, essentially having to relive this nightmare again? Was it, was it Kira, for reasons that obviously we'll get into later? Was it Christina because she's set up as the one who, she's in prison, but actually there's justifiable reasons, so she isn't a totally corrupt character? Or is it Mike and this blonde girl because she's the blonde, the blonde, she's sort of introduced first, and there's I felt like the film was really sort of struggling to sort of go, right, that's your main girl, like that's going to be your final girl at the end. The only characters I think it was really set on was the is he Hispanic dude who like
I thought they were trying to prep him for that as well quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean,
so
he didn't.
I had the same issue. I didn't really know, like with Scream 4, I didn't know where to sort of try and seat my attention and empathy.
Yeah, that's it.
Common flaw in these movies, but so yeah, you've got that, and then clever moment. She takes a gun. That was clever.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, it's not just a run; it's a take gun first and run, and it's covered in blood. So I like that bit as well. It's like really, it's grim. I really like it.
Yeah. Speaking of grim.
Yeah. Well, we go to the. We've got the quick scene with the four doing drugs in that little lounge area with a perfectly tuned piano somehow.
I didn't get any screen caps of that because this channel tries to be family friendly. We don't want any imagery of drugs. So
yes, exactly. And Kane, Jacob's looking through the two-way mirrors, just watching them basically. They have the little thing with Zoe and Mike saying, "Oh, you can do better than Kira," and he's like, "Ooh, I've got a chance with this blondie." And then, what's she called? Melissa looks at the mirror and she's like, "Oh, I'm seeing things." But she kind of looks directly at Jacob, and the guy, Mike, just says, "Oh, it's good drugs." And I'm like, "Oh, neat." Yeah. And then you've got Jacob being a bit creepy with Melissa, Kira even, because of the Christian iconography. So he just takes her off to God knows where, while the Hispanic dude and Melissa goes to the maid's quarters to bang.
And she propositions him, doesn't she?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think they. Yeah, I think they are together. Well, not together. I think they're into each other anyway. Oh no, he
Wait.
says let's find somewhere private. I don't think so.
Oh, okay. I mean,
Oh, yeah, no, that's
she'd
true.
already
Yeah, he
shaved
does.
her legs, so
Yeah.
the deal was sealed.
Yeah, but then we've got this scene with Kira waking up, seeing a load of dead bodies with her eyes missing in a really grim room. It was really disgusting, and she sees Richie still alive till till Jacob comes in, looks at her, just stares at her for a bit. He doesn't do the weird thing yet, but Richie's there trying to get out of his bonds.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do it.
No.
Yeah, just more body horror. Just take the eyes out as it's doing that. Cuts to Mike and Zoe again, and he's like, want a shag, and she's like, when I said you could do better, I didn't mean this much better. And I'm like, oh, that's a really bitchy line that I like.
Yeah, yeah.
And then she gets a mobile phone, which I don't know. Is it established how she gets that?
Yeah, because
yeah.
he turns around and says, "Oh, how did you get it?" He's like, "Oh, I stole it off Hannah."
Yeah.
Yeah,
he
she
took out
steals
her
it out of the
yeah.
bag at the start.
That was it. Yeah. Oh, see stuff like this all the way through the film. Character gets something, they'll keep it. Like what's he called? Mike with the pipe. He has it the whole film. So she calls her sister, and she's like, "Oh, I'm with this freak who thinks he can get a piece of me."
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's neat. And he just walks off because he's annoyed, which I'm kind of like, he went a bit, struggle snuggly with Kira before. Why is he not doing it now? Like, why is he being a Chad woman respect?
I think it's because, I think this again, the blonde isn't. She says it's like, you can talk to Kira like this, but you can't get away with it with me. And I think it's just that the power dynamic is different in that scenario. It's almost like he feels threatened a bit.
She totally blue balls him. It's great.
Nice.
Yes,
it's quite fun, even though neither of them are likable. So
yeah.
But then we get into one of my favorite bits that I really liked was the vegan and the Latino guy
Melissa and
very
Russell.
yes, and being very sort of 12A getting onto a 15.
Yeah.
And then all hell breaks loose, and I loved it.
I love because they're going, because obviously they're going at it, aren't they? And she gets freaked out by the mirror. And he takes a closer look at it, and he's like, "Oh, it's a two-way mirror." And she's like, "Well, okay." And then it's just there's this very brief like flash of light, and then you just see his silhouette through the mirror. I love that.
I like the shot. I don't get mechanically how it works. But...
No, I'm with you on that. But I thought
the lighting would have
cool.
had to come on behind him or something for that to have worked. But
I don't know if this will sound daft, but Trig, TCG, maybe you can say it felt like that reveal of him being behind the mirror and smashing through felt like big wrestling energy. Like they were trying to make
glass shatters
feel, like they're trying
Stone
to make
Cold.
it feel like a wrestling event. Like the same thing where he's like throwing the first two victims around felt very wrestling, just to try and get you the feeling of body slamming people.
Yeah, Trig, you're thinking of early Stone Cold entrance themes when he had the old, what was it, the Survivor Series '98, I think it was, where he had the old the glass around the entrance bit, and as soon as the glass shatters theme starts, the glass obviously shatters into like thousands of pieces, and Stone Cold comes through.
Yes,
definite vibes.
Yeah, exactly. But this leads up to, I think, my favourite kill in this movie.
Yes,
go for it, Trig. Detail it.
The vegan girl, they're running. They've gotten to the room. They've tied the what was it? It was like a fire hose, wasn't it? Tie it around her, and they're lowering it down. Down she goes, and then you hear a noise, and then she starts going back up. And she's trying to struggle to get out of it. God knows where she thinks she's going to go. and then she sort of falls back, and she's now being tied. The ties around her ankles, and she's hanging upside down. And Kane just pulls her up a little bit, and then gets this sort of evil smirk on his face, and boom, drops her down, She doesn't quite hit the ground. She goes through the glass. She's cut up, and she's in the atrium. She's hanging there.
She
back
breaks
to
her
where
arm on the
she was
floor as well.
Yeah, back to
Yeah.
where she was feeding the dog in the first place. And the dog comes out, and
Licks the blood.
it's the licks the blood, and the dog. You can just see it almost gets a grill on its face.
It howls. Meat's back on the menu, boys. Yeah.
All his mates come in there, and she's feeding the dogs once again.
Yeah, and she gets mauled by him. Yeah, I really like this kill.
Such a sick sense of humour. I love
Vegans
it.
get what they deserve.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Horrorshow.
Oh no.
Yeah, we've also we have missed out a mechanic I really like about this as well, in that he knows they're there because of the bells. Like he's got a whole bell and tripwire system set up. So
what's that? That's
I think that's set up beforehand. I don't think that's him that set him up. I think that's because the whole Blackwell, whose hotel it was in the first place, it was his playden. The reason it had got the secret passages and the two-way mirrors was because this guy was a bit of a weirdo sort of playboy in the first place.
Voyeurism, yeah. Well, either way, I really like the way it was all working.
Yes.
So and
it was a very nice touch for explaining how the killer knows where he wants to be.
Exactly.
Nice detail.
Yeah, it's really good, really clever. I thought.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kira down, Russell down. Now we've got Mike and Zoe, who they're just like, right, I've had enough of the drugs, let's go. So they go to the lift, and as they're there, she gets distracted by flies. He looks at her, he sees Kane just kind of staring at them again, and then have a bit of a scuffle. He's got his axe. He fights back a bit, which I liked. I'm like, oh, he can, hold his own against him a bit. I enjoy that.
He was a brawler, isn't he? That's why he was in prison in the first place. So they're consistent with their character, consistent character.
Exactly. So and then they have the little hide and seek bit, which kind of like just not too much detail. Just Kane looks for them a bit, goes in the room they did actually go in, can't find them because they're in kind of hidden passageways that I guess he won't. I mean. I guess he doesn't know about them all, is all I can conclude there. But when he can't find them, he then goes out. But oh no, the phone goes off. And he's like, turns around, goes back in. And what's weird is that like she's hiding behind a load of crap in the cupboard or something. But then when he comes back to like see the phone, she's like in the middle of the cupboard. I don't know why she came out.
And isn't it empty as well?
I think he opens it and stuff falls out.
Okay.
More than anything. But yeah, there is some stuff in there, but it's it didn't look kind of as much as what she was hiding behind.
Yeah.
But yeah, he takes her out. She's screaming for Michael to come help, and then
see again, this is another bit where Michael acts like a complete and utter d-bag. Like he completely cowards out of this scene.
Yeah, he doesn't help her. He what's he called? Jacob just takes the phone and makes a deep throat it, and again, a really effective kill, I thought.
Creative, nasty,
creative. Yeah, it's
All I'll say is perhaps if she hadn't blue balled him earlier, perhaps he might have been
maybe.
Yeah. I mean, they're all kind of killed. Well, this and the Melissa kill are kind of ironic. Just because they've, Zoe here has been killed by a phone which she stole, so she's dying directly for her sins, whereas Melissa's almost died. Well, I guess veganism's a sin, so there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Take that, PH.
F's in the chat for PH. But I liked this. Like, these kills that had a bit of a wink to them. They worked for me a lot better. I was into this lot, even though I struggle with how grimy it is. When it gets a sort of sick sense of humor, I feel like I'm more in on the joke. So I like that. Oh,
yeah, definitely.
Yes, Fez. Yes. Excellent.
Yeah. So and then after this, we go back to Christina and Ty. And they're like, oh no, he's coming. We're in a dead end. I've got my gun. I'll shoot him. And then they hear someone come around the corner. Turns out it's Michael, and they just shot him. And he's like, "What the hell is wrong with you?"
Yeah.
And then they're walking off, and then they find out about the tripwire, and then they hear the footsteps above, and all the elevators coming, the lifts coming down as well. And they're like, "Right, let's get in fighting mode then." So the elevator opens, and they're
This scene.
Yeah,
This
Mike's got his
image.
pipe. Ty's got his taser. Christine's got a gun. Lift opens. He's not there. Oh, what the hell? And then what comes barging through the wall? It's RKO out of nowhere.
Hey, you got a reference.
Yeah. So he comes through. Mike says, get out of the way. Hits him with the pipe a bit. And then he's thrown into a mirror while the other two are getting in the lift. And Kane's trying to axe the lift. Like the outside shots, he's hitting like one side of the door. The inside shots, it's hitting the middle. It's like bit of a thingy in editing there, I guess. But they're like, well, he's coming through. How are we getting out? He says, well, it's a lift. Just go through the hatch above. Even though this is another thing I learned from Archer. They're only accessible from the outside. You can only open them from the outside because they're for technicians. But they make it through anyway. You learn a lot from Archer.
To be honest, how many lifts have you been in where there have been that hatch in the roof?
None in Britain.
I was going to say you never see them.
But this is America, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Might be different there. So they managed to escape using that. They try and get chased, but Ty just tases his hand. And he looks down, and he disappears, and I'm kind of like, it's a bit kind of almost mystical, but I guess so. He recovered.
It's a little teleporty.
Yeah, a little. It's not too egregious, but anyway, they get away is the point, and try and get to the top floor, which they manage because he can open doors. And what's there? Oh, there was a safe. There's walls covered in money, as you can see here. Which he cares a lot more about, and she's like,
Yeah.
the eyes in jars, and I
know.
like that touch.
Yeah, the reaction is brilliant. They both walk into the same room, and his reaction is, "Oh my god, is that money?
Money."
Look at all this money!" And then her reaction is, "Are they eyeballs in jars?" But they're both completely ignoring the other thing and completely like zoned in on one thing. I quite like that. I quite like that.
Yeah, and and then they hear the cries from Kira in the other room. Who's actually, now that I'm looking at his cage, it looks like it's makeshift from basically nothing but shopping carts.
I like the detail of that. Like it's the homeless people's shopping carts that he's adapted.
Yeah.
It did look like if you gave it a swift and a solid kick on one side, you'd probably pop it open on the corner. Though.
True.
Yes.
Yeah. But well.
It holds.
Good point. Yeah. So she's like, "Help me." The other two are like, "Oh, he's coming back." BRB. And then he starts like staring at her and rubbing his third leg a bit, which I was like, I don't think this needs to be in the film.
It
But
did feel a little
it's
unnecessary.
disgusting. Yeah.
It's quite grim, isn't it? I almost wonder, like, there's a wide shot where he's rubbing, and he's clearly nowhere near the business zone.
Phrasing.
Yeah, no.
And
Well,
it's like, I wonder if that's just like a shot that they weren't meant to use wide, because it shows that he's not doing it. But
maybe. But
know.
he has flashbacks at this point as well to like his mum putting him in a cage, telling him, it's really weird. Like, she's got him in a cage, and he's got like Playboy mags in it or something. And she's like, "Oh, you're filthy." But it's like, you put him in a cage with porno mags. What the hell do you expect? And she's
I
like,
think
"Look
he
at
was
these
in the
awful
cage
women."
because he'd been looking at them.
I thought they were in the cage with him.
But
She'd put them in to humiliate him, I think.
Well, he's certainly humiliated, yeah. So he's clearly been traumatized by his mum anyway. That's what you get from it. She's like, "Oh, you're a filthy pig." It's like, "Geez, what's your problem?" So at that point, Ty smashes a few of the eyeball glasses to distract him, which he does, and he hides behind the safe. And then you get a neat shot when it's like is it panning or is it I don't know what you call it. It moves across the room, and as it's doing that, you see Christina in the background, like sneak into the door he's just come out of, and I'm like, oh, that's a cool shot.
I think it was dollying.
Yeah. So yeah, she goes in, tries to find the keys. She's like, where are they? And Kira's like, he took them. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty unlucky. I wouldn't be that. Don't look so disappointed in her. So what does she like? What tool does she pick up to? Well, first, what's he called? Tie-dyes. He tries to tase him, but doesn't, and then he gets crushed by the safe. And I'm like, oh, another ironic kill.
We like the ironic kills.
Yeah, and they're not forced in any way. I felt just they feel natural as well. Oh, that's it. She got a knife to try and open the lock. And I'm like, desperate for ideas, but there's got to be better tools for cutting open locks in there. Surely. He's got a whole workshop, basically, but that's what she went with. She tries to go off to hide when the door starts to open, and in comes Margaret. And I'm like, oh, she's part of it. And Kira's like, help me. Margaret's just like, what are you doing in the cage?
Classic heel turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then as we can see, Jacob comes in, and she's like, "Why is this whore alive? What are you doing? Like,
Based.
kill her? Yeah, you know what to do." And he's acting like a 10-year-old who's just been caught, just like stealing money or something.
And he has been pretty rough with her.
Yeah. He tries to wash away her sins, and then we have the. Oh dear. But yeah, this is kind of the shock. This is kind of the shock reveal that I kind of like as well. Yeah,
gotta leave it in.
Yeah, because at this point, Margaret's just Kira says, oh, you know him, and she's like, well, he's my son, and I was like, yes, I worked that out, even though it was pretty obvious. And she calls him the hand of God. And I'm kind of like, she's mental.
He doesn't look like Maradona.
Yeah. But then she explains basically that she set this. She basically said she set this all up because the officer shot Kane. And she's also like, well, I kill sinners, so. I set this all up so I'd get prisoners as well, and they were bonus kills, basically, because you're all sinners and deserve to die. And I'm like, you know what? That's actually really, really clever. Why are they helping clean a derelict mansion? Well, it's because that's a red herring. It doesn't matter at this point. Like, what that they're doing something pointless, because that was the point. It was a red herring, and and what are the officers going to say? They're taking a weekend off. They don't really care. They're just like, I'm doing something to help people get second chances because we believe in them. It's like, fair enough.
I did think though, right? One, and it's a minor nitpick. She normally with these sort of outreach like programs and things like that, I would have imagined that the prisons would have reached out directly and arrange something, whereas it looks like she finds them like one evening when she's in bed scrolling the paper. Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, it's the same article from the beginning where it's
no, I get it, but it's just
new role.
Yeah, it just it's quite funny, because obviously they put that in the paper, and I just thought it was quite funny, like how like she managed to pick them out in the paper rather than. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but
she's in bed looking at the newspaper.
Yeah.
And then after that, she'll have started to formulate the plan.
Actually, no, I think I might be remembering it wrong. Actually, I think I'm remembering it wrong. But it just at the time, because I was sort of half doing something else at the time, and I saw her looking in bed, talking about the scene. Like, I've got it, and I remember it as an advertisement for some reason. And I'm like, what? I'll take that back then.
No, but it was. I thought it was pretty smart.
Yeah, that does work. That does work.
Yeah.
And the flashback, I'll say, we have really nice imagery. Not so much like the stuff on the, like, it was mostly fine, but I loved this shot. Like the symmetry of that. Well, it's not symmetry, but I just think that's a really
Poetry and
great,
rhymes.
I think it's a really great image. It's so nasty. It's framed in a really nice way.
Yeah.
I thought it was a lovely shot from the flashback. I'll get it off because it's a bit nasty, but
yeah, Well, I'm trying to work out as well now because after that explanation, Kane just refuses to kill her. So Margaret goes, "Fine, I'll do it myself." She does a Thanos, but she picks a gun up off the table, and I don't know where that gun comes from because I don't think Christina puts it down there, and that's the only other gun I know. And then in that case, it's like, well, why have you got a gun in this room? It's and then she doesn't even question why there's a gun in there. So I'm kind of confused at that. It's just guns there, whatever. And that's the other thing, you don't even need the gun. So I don't know. Yeah, just a bit of concentration. You could have had that a bit better. But I know you do need the guns, Christina. But because as she's doing that, Kane's like, nah, grabs her hand. Gun falls out of it because she's a weak woman, and Kane's a big, strong woman. Respect her. And the gun lands near Christina. So he's there just remembering all the trauma that she put her through. She's like, "Oh, look at women as whores," basically. And he's just like, "Yeah, I can't take it anymore." So he picks her up and throws her across the room into head first into a nail. Like, it's almost like an Iron Maiden type thing. I have no idea what it is, but it's in the shape of a T. I don't know what it is.
It's not just one nail, is it? There's several of them.
It's like
she gets her in the head and through the chest, and
and then he's and then Kane just kind of has a breakdown, gets Kira out. Christina tries to grab the gun, but he's already off with Kira. So she follows him a bit, finds her there. Kane's in another room on a couch. Kane's like kind of got her in a headlock type thing, and he's clearly delusional. He's out of it. Probably, I assume due to trauma. He did just kill his mum.
You feel a bit bad for him, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
Glenn
Jacobs doesn't get much to do. He doesn't get much to say. He gets the 4 words.
No.
No, and I see it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the guy just has to grunt and emote, and you feel bad. Like, he's doing the best he can with it, but he's not being asked to do very much. So I think he does pretty darn well with the role.
Yeah. And Christina sees this and she's like, "Oh, I mean, she's hesitating. Probably one, she's not killed anyone before. 2, he's kind of half harmless, half isn't because he's out of it, but he's also got Kira in the headlock. So she goes like right up to his face with the gun.
Oh, this was daft.
I hate it when they do this.
Which I'm kind of like, she's thinking about it. She's not done it before. She definitely doesn't want to miss.
No.
I kind of is it out of character for her to do that? I don't know. It is when cops do it, like in Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, but someone not used to it, I don't know, I can see it. But she goes right up to his eye and pulls the trigger, but duff round, out of ammo, not sure which. Gun doesn't go off, but the click snaps Kane out of it. So he then grabs her by the neck and has 2 women, and then goes Chad Wham and Respector mode and just picks them both up by the neck. But then,
it was at this point I was thinking, right, is he going to choke slam them? Because that was one of his of the things that Kane would do every so often. Because obviously, being a big guy, you promote the big show. He'd do like a double choke slam on his opponents every so often. But one of his signatures was a normal choke slam, and he didn't do it. And I was thinking, oh, you should have done it. You should have done it. Now, I feel like they intentionally had him lift these 2 women up, almost like to bait you, thinking, yeah, you know what he's going to do. No, he didn't do it.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah, but that's a shame. But as he's doing this, he gets his leg hit by the pipe from Michael, who's coming to save the day. As the other 2 girls run off, they're having not really a fight. Kind of a fight. He kind of turns around, grabs him, and throws him in the corner, but then he picks up the axe, I think, and sticks it in his leg as he's going toward him, and then just starts beating on the back of his head with the pipe. And then you get the other disgusting shot where his head hole opens and maggots fall out.
Oh yeah, man, that was
And
great.
I was like, oh, that is disgusting. And I was also like, how's he alive?
That caught me out.
Yeah.
I've seen this twice, and it caught me out each time because it's such a quick, unexpected shot that just makes you feel like vomiting.
That's it. He's
But,
not just brain damage from the bullet, he's brain damage from maggots eating his brain.
Yeah. And another detail I really like is the girls go down the same corridor that Ty went down before, and the door they go through is the same one that he unlocked before. And I'm like, oh. Neat. They've kept that consistent. I like it. I think it's the same corridor.
Darn it. Good call.
Well, it looks like the same corridor and it looks like the same door they go through, but now that I'm watching it again, it's like it doesn't have the like roof crap that the hook went through before. But I'm kind of finding it hard. I mean, all the halls look the same. I don't know, but yeah. So at this point, they're hiding in that room. Kane goes in. He sees an open window and goes to it. He's like, "Oh, have they tried to escape?" But then they all come out and ambush him. So 3 of them go. So Mike comes out, hits him on the head with the bar again. Christina pushed him out at the window with the chair, and they're like, "Oh, cool. He should be dead then." So as they're kind of recovering, they look over. Well, Christina looks over. No, he's not dead. Han grabs her, and he's like, "Oh no, what's gonna happen now?" Because he's got his hand stuck in like a nail on the windowsill. And at this point, Mike's trying to beat the hand off him. He then sees the nail. He sees him trying to get back in. He's just like, nah, none of that. So Christina picks up the pipe, puts it straight through his eye, which also pushes him off. And then we get Mortal. This is Mortal
Kombat. Yes,
I was going to say.
So, man, I want to go through this. As he's falling down, the pipe that's protruding out his eye hits 2 windowsills that make him bump a bit. His then arse hits something, another windowsill, which makes him kind of go head first down. He then smashes through the glass, and one extra, I guess, tough bit of rebar catches the angle between his head and the pipe, which then spins him round to being back first, and then his eye socket slides out the pipe, and then he lands on the floor, and then you get a proper Mortal Kombat zoom in on the heart. A rib goes straight through his heart. So I don't care what you say, this man is dead. There is no coming back from that. The man has
How are you feeling with this? How are you feeling, Trig, when this is happening?
Oh, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. This we're not mentioning yet is the dog in a minute and in the middle of the credits.
Yes,
coming off and with the coup de grace, so to speak.
I didn't know about that.
You missed it.
Well,
you missed it. It's in the credits. After everyone's walked out, the dog just walks out and pees in the eye sockets.
Oh,
This I gotta see.
These fatalities are getting just darn sadistic.
That's exactly.
Interestingly enough, was this before or after they started doing these for Mortal Kombat, where they started doing those fancy animations like the bone breaking bits?
I think this was way before that.
This was way before that,
really
wasn't it?
Recent.
So really, was Mortal Kombat see no evil references?
It could be.
Maybe.
I mean, what I like about this is, for all we said, okay, it's kind of formulaic, okay. It's mixed things up a bit, like you don't just have high schoolers or university students or camp counselors. You've got juvenile delinquents, okay, fine. We're mixing it up a little bit. We're changing the flavour of the format. This sort of finishing move for a villain is so amazingly over the top that it really makes it stand out. I kind of love it. Like this and the rope scene where the vegan girl got it. It was like, that's a kind of splash of inspiration that I really liked. And I wish they'd have just told the writer, right, this scene and this scene, we love it. Try and thread that through the rest of the movie. You know?
I really enjoyed every death. Well, most of them. There were, a couple that were either boring or. I mean, there were none. There were none that I went. That can't happen though. Like for as over the top as this last one was, this seems like a realistic way for a pipe through the eye and falling 8 stories would go. That's what I personally thought, anyway.
Do you know, the thing about this death as well, in particular, this was quite risky because this was quite CGI heavy.
Yeah.
But going back to what we were saying, I think it was a week or two ago about pet peeves when we were talking about CGI. What they did really well with this bit was that it was shot in the middle of the night, and it did look like it was quite sort of misty. So any of those sort of blemishes that would sort of stand out if this was done in the middle of the day were covered up by the darkness and all that jazz.
They know how to cover it up.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell it was CGI, but it wasn't egregious.
No,
really.
not at all, not at all.
Yeah.
This is what Proper Horror Show was saying about coming out of that dodgy era of CGI. You know, this was done well, and you know, and there's a lot of practical effects in this movie as well, which I personally, you know, I love practical effects. And so, you know, to have a little bit of CGI in there isn't a massive issue. But what they did do with the CGI there, I thought they did really well. And this particular death, A, needed it, and B, applied it well.
Yeah. And then we have the classic walkout scene at the end.
Oh, mate. Even in that moment, the geezer couldn't stop being a dickhead.
I just wanted to be
she was like,
alive.
Yeah, well, yeah. I didn't. Yeah, you didn't have to come. Yeah, you didn't have to come back for it. She was like, yeah, I didn't want to walk out alone. It's like, what?
I kind of took that as he doesn't want to. Almost seems soft. Like he still needs to have like a hard persona. I kind of took it as he's still trying.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Too late for redemption, Mike. Not happening. Not happening. You threw a can at a dog. It's still
exactly.
Oh, I mean, yeah, he's not become a better person for it, but I mean,
no, not at all.
Probably say he was heroic at the end, but that's you know, overall, not really redeemed, but I don't mind.
But again, I mean, what I thought was interesting as well is they sort of broke away from the formula a little bit with this film in that they didn't go with the final girl, because when I first watched this, it was probably when it first came out, so I mean I pretty much forgotten about most of it by the time I did the rewatch in preparation for the stream. And I was really expecting there to be one final girl, and I think that's why I was struggling to sort of attach myself to one specific character. And I think looking back on it, I think it was intentional of the film, because I think they knew that there was going to be, you know, and it wasn't even just 2 characters, there was, you know, 3 surviving characters from this film. You know, and what is it? I think really only sort of like, only really Scream sort of stands out to springs to mind when it comes to multiple main characters. But yeah, I mean, it was for the type of film that it was going for, like the whole sort of slasher, sort of almost supernatural-esque. Like, you know, again, when I was saying like when I was getting Friday the 13th vibes, there's normally one surviving character, one final girl, and it broke the formula in that regard by having not one but 2 final girls, and also a strong male character who would normally be one of the first that they would get rid of to add the increased danger of the final girl. But yeah, it was interesting, and I think they pulled it off. Yeah,
the things are shaking up, so it's not a final girl versus Kane, but it let them do the 3-on-1 that looked really good.
Yeah,
I thought they directed that very nicely.
Yeah, it was. It was just a shame that the utter douche nozzle Mike was the one who was the final guy.
Well, it kind of had to be. There were none of them other than the actual cop from the beginning.
Yeah, I would have rather him.
None of the other male characters had the arm strength, quite frankly. And even Mike doesn't. I mean, frankly, Kane is gigantic.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's going to take 3-on-1 at least to even give him any sort of a pause to to stop. Yeah, he's a huge bloke. You know what? I said at the beginning before we started, God, that was a kind of terrible film. But you know what? Actually, in reflection, it's a lot of fun. It's an hour and a half of a good laugh. It is. It is a huge number of 80s and 90s horror tropes thrown into one movie, and it's done nicely.
I was going to say,
it's a 2 a.m. greasy kebab, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still think that's underselling it. Honestly, this film had really good writing in it. Just really bad dialogue in places. Seriously.
Sorry, TCG, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say with regards to the 3-on-1 battle, they kind of need it because obviously like Trig said, the geezer's a big dude, and a little factoid for you. I don't know if you guys know what a Royal Rumble is. I know you would, Trig.
No.
So it's 30 men enter a ring, phrasing.
Jesus.
And then one by one, I might add, and then basically the last person standing, and the last person standing is the winner. Kane holds the record for the most cumulative eliminations at 46, and he's appeared in 20 Royal Rumbles. So he's well versed in throwing men over the ropes who have tried to enter his ring.
Well, thank you so much.
There you go.
Yay.
All right. Well, we are at the end of the film, so let's talk about our closing thoughts and scores. And you folks in the chat, if you watch this, or if you formed a reliable impression from our review, put your scores in. But really, do your horror homework every week. You'll get the most out of it, because some weeks we completely forget to say we're going to spoil the film entirely. But all right, so Trig, would you like to go first with the sort of closing thoughts and score out of 12? We are still using the 12 out of 12 burgers system. We found nothing to beat it.
Out of 12. It's not The Thing. It's not Alien. It's not an absolute 12 out of 12, the best horror sort of thing ever, without a doubt. But it's certainly more than a 6. I'm gonna give it a solid 9. It's a good fun film. It's an hour and a half that you don't want back. You've seen it, you've enjoyed it. It's been a good laugh, and if it hasn't been the movie of everything, it's reminded you of many good horror movies in the process. You've got flavors of the Chainsaw Massacre, you've got flavors of Saw, you've got flavors of Friday the 13th, and it reminds you of all of them. And you know what? It even reminds you of some scenes from Angel. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but yeah, it's a good laugh. It's definitely worth watching. I would recommend it on a pissed up night with some mates. Let's slap that on.
Yeah,
it'll be a good
definitely.
film.
Yeah, I like that. And so out of 12, do you reckon?
I'd say about 9.
Or 9. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. All right. We have got some scores coming in. TCG, would you like to go next?
Yeah, so I sort of echo Trig in that this is quite a fun film. Doesn't take itself too seriously. I do like that it gives subtle nods to sort of like the horror films before it. Probably the greatest ever film, really. Greatest ever horror film. Sorry, Trig. Much better than that. I'm joking. No, but so some of the dialogue's a bit dodgy. I say the two bits that actually made me proper laugh were the, we're doing this for the homeless people. We're going to build a homeless shelter for them. But yeah, we kicked them all out beforehand, and I don't know if she can phone the police with my mobile phone. I just thought that was it's quite funny, like implying that she's too much of a boomer to use it. But there we go. But yeah, I mean, in terms of what this film was and who made it, I thought they overall did quite a good job. So I'd say, yeah, this is like a I'm okay. I'm gonna go on the more optimistic side, because I think with the budget that they had and the work they did promoting it, I think I would probably lean towards an 8 out of 12 burgers with a healthy dose of cheese and some love and a big dollop of ketchup for the gore. Massive. I will just say as well, I massively appreciated the practical effects. There were no naff deaths in this, and where they used CGI, I felt like it was well used and fitted in quite well.
Yeah. I can go with that. I think it's fair. This is one of those streams where I've ended up sort of we've talked my score up, you know.
Yeah. Thank God.
You made a good case. Like, my problems are, I don't really like anyone. The character work was a bit weak. Was quite, I don't know. You knew who people were, but it wasn't really enough to be super interesting. And there was a heck of a lot of really clunky dialogue that sticks out. And I struggled with how disgustingly grimy it was. I found that quite difficult to enjoy. I had the same problem with 7. Just it was so grimy that I found that quite off-putting. But if you, having talked through this, you sort of end up being able to see past that and see there are nice touches in there. There are clever bits of writing and structure. And yeah, directing choices that had a lot of effort put into them, and luckily no CGI absolutely sabotaging it. And Glenn Jacobs, the man himself, Kane, he's a good screen presence. I think they should have leaned on him more, because he just does not get to do enough, and I think he can clearly handle it. So he was slightly underused. So that sort of thing, I don't think I can go as high as you guys. I think I would probably say a 6.
Would you say a gamey 6?
Nice.
Like Fez has gone with.
A gamey 6 with absolutely loads of ketchup and cheese in the end.
Nice.
You know, some last minute cheese has been thrown in there that was very welcome. So it's a gamey 6.5 maybe. There are nice touches in there, but the characters are largely very forgettable. So not bad.
It's not bad at all.
Haryan.
Yeah,
I'm going to be so wrong this week.
So I don't know. I'm like, because the reason I'm kind of being so positive throughout the stream is because I came into the backstage, and you were all basically saying, "Well, that was a piece of shit." wasn't quite that bad.
Memorable, but
yeah, it wasn't memorable. But I thought, no, there's good writing in this film. There's a lot more care that went into the writing than I see in quite a few films, especially in the modern age. So, it's things like, how's he getting around? Well, the secret passages. Okay, the dialogue's clunky to set that up, fair enough. How's he know where everyone is? Well, the bells. Why are they all dusting up this grimy old hotel they don't intend to use anyway? Well, they don't intend to use it, is why. And, I thought the whole setup, the whole motivation behind it, why Jacob is the way he is, all set up great. As you were saying, the prisoners, there were certainly more people to dislike, and the ones that were likable either weren't in it very long or, were kind of, they're all right. I did like the cop though. And again, I feel, I'd say it subverted expectations with, one, how quick some of the deaths were, and two, why is he keeping some alive and others not? And it makes sense. It's like, if you don't see someone die, odds are they're alive, apart from Russell, who just disappears, and we don't really know what happens to him, but the film's moving too quick to care about that at that point. you know, I liked how quick and to the point the violence and deaths were. I liked also how the big bombastic ones, they didn't overdo it. It was just a quick, oh, one dog's here, oh, you see the rest and do it, oh, they start going at it, and that's it. That's all you need to see. So I should say, characters let this down. The kind of they have too many for how long the film is. You can't really have the proper arcs that you maybe expect from this. But I mean, it's WWE. For what they did, this was pretty good. But that's on a WWE scale. On a scale of all films, it's not that high. It's probably just above average. So probably about 7 out of 12 with a lot of cheese. This, as you say, it's one I definitely recommend, especially if you're drunk, because it's just, you don't really need to care about the characters. You kind of need an idea of what's going on, and then the boring bits aren't overplayed. They know you're here for the action. They deliver it, and they even put thought behind how it comes about. So there we go.
Yeah, it's a dirty quickie, isn't it? It really is. You're drunk. You want a bit of a laugh. You don't want it to last forever. You just want to be in and out and have had a good laugh in the process. Yeah, exactly.
I just want to mention you said you don't really. You said during that score that you didn't know what happened to Russell.
That's the Hispanic one.
Yeah. No, he's definitely dead. He's actually one of the. Yeah. He has his eyes gouged out by Kane.
Oh,
and he he's the worst one. It's the worst one because unlike the other ones where they're down the side, you actually see him scoop it out of the eye, top down. But like you say, it does happen really quickly. It is really quick, so it does sort of fly by. So it's easily forgettable. But I mean, that was easily, in terms of the eye removals, that was the worst one.
Oh, fair enough. But yeah, I mean, no, it's not going up for that. You could easily rewatch this. I mean, the main reason it's 7 is because of what it's lacking more than what it's done bad. Because there are bad things in this film, don't get me wrong, dialogue being the main one, but it still works, and it's like those issues aren't hard to fix. It's just at that point, then you need a lot more. Like the characters just need to be better at that point. Basically, is the easiest way to put it.
Yeah, I think what you said about describing Kane better to the prison officer, as opposed to he's got a hole in his head, all this stuff. If you had just said, we found dead bodies with no eyes. Like that in and of itself would have worked so much better. So I completely agree there. Yeah.
All right, let's read the prediction.
Prediction for Haryan. We're getting
not as bad as last week.
No, but we're still on the consistently inconsistent side, aren't we?
Yeah.
Okay, so prediction for Haryan. He will find the film largely silly, and certain moments of writing will stand out. Example: lockpicking with hairpins again. The police, I'm surprised you remember these things. I forget. The police apparently don't know Mike, and Suicide Girls Bint were antagonistic. Police guy saying Kane can't be in the hotel as he shot him in the head, despite knowing nobody was recovered. He'll wonder if Margaret's motivation makes any sense. Oh, you've addressed that. He'll get Scream 3 finale flashbacks as well from the secret passage bits, and there's a good chance of quibbling over whether the blonde girl could swallow a phone. On the OTOH,
I think she could potentially.
On the other hand, yeah.
But I would doubt it would actually cause her any difficulty. I think fine with it.
I was pretty convinced she swallowed it without choking her.
Yeah, would not have killed her.
Yeah. On the other hand, he'll like the vegan getting eaten by dogs. So there's that. I quite like that one. That was actually probably my favourite death. I also think the gore might make him wince and look away from the screen. Yeah, you've covered that. It's impressive, but possibly nastier than expected. The final death of Jacob might be over the top enough to crack Haryan up. Did you laugh at that bit, or did you appreciate
which bit? Sorry.
When Jacob died.
Combat.
The killer when he died.
I didn't laugh, but I enjoyed it, if that makes sense. Well, I was kind of like, I kind of went, oh, this is a bit like Mortal Kombat, and I kind of exhaled out my nose a bit harder than I usually would. So it wasn't like laugh out loud though.
I'm glad you like
Fair
that,
enough.
Bilbo. I never
Yeah.
remember character names, so
Overall, very hard to read. I suspect that the shallow character. Sorry. Overall, very hard to read. I suspect the shallow characters will be enough of a problem to drop the score, and he'll remove another burger for thottery, -1 burger because no girls got it done.
That is true.
4 out of 12 burgers, more ketchup than requested, and mouldy pickles. There you go.
Yeah. It was a weird one. This.
It is, isn't
'cause
it?
It was.
Like, but
It was good.
I think you did a good job of hyping it up. You
Yeah.
brought me round. You know.
Well, good. I can argue my case.
in all seriousness though, if this was by a big money studio, would you be praising the positive bits as much as you are now, or is it just purely because you're looking at it from the perspective of, look, this is WWE, this isn't their main bread and butter?
No, because I still think it was pretty. I think the whole setup of the plot was pretty clever with Margaret. So I thought, I saw he does this program now. I'm going to set something up to get him killed. The others are just happenstance. They'll be there. They'll get killed. Whatever. If that was written by a big studio, I'd still be like, yeah, that's pretty clever.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Because bear in mind, big studios give us The Last Jedi and
yeah,
other things. So
no, that's what I'm saying, because they gave us films like The Last Jedi. If they produce something like this,
I'd still give it. Yeah, it'd still probably be a 7. I don't think it's affected my score. It's probably affected my score a bit. I can't say really. If it was by a big studio, it'd probably be a 6. It wouldn't be that far off.
Right.
But, yeah. Maybe you're right. I don't. It's hard to tell, really.
No, I think for me, if you asked me that question, I would definitely say if it was a big budget movie and they produced that, it would have dropped the score a lot, actually. But I love your sort of niche little sort of dirty shoestring budget films.
Yeah, I got to admit, because I think the lens I was looking at this pre-stream was from the eyes of like, if this was a big budget production, and sort of comparing it to those. Whereas your defense of it being, look, actually, bear in mind this is WWE, and you kind of forget it you kind of forget it, and so being reminded of that actually made some of the positive bits for me stand out more than
punching above its weight.
Well, yeah, and it's doing a good job of it. And like you said, Chloe, the Kane was really underused in this, and I haven't seen the sequel, so I'd be intrigued to see whether they sort of capitalize on that and use him more in the sequel.
Well, tell you what, I will watch the sequel this weekend, and I will let you know in the next stream.
Cool.
So I'm intrigued. People do say it's better, so we'll see what that means.
I highly doubt it, given the premise of he just lives. I don't believe
it's just like,
people.
shut up, we're doing a sequel.
Because like the See No Evil 1. The critic, like, it's got a Rotten Tomato score of 9. It's got 3.3 out of 10 on Metacritic or something. See No Evil 2's like in the 70s, like 60s.
Oh, really?
70s. Yeah, it's like they think it's that much better, and I don't believe them. I just don't believe it's better. So it might even be worth kind of saving this for another stream. I don't know.
Maybe.
Okay. I could go with that. Well, we do need to round things off. We have thoroughly displeased Super Nanny, and I do need to make a wrestling specific Super Nanny for this. So I will very quickly announce the horror homework for everyone. Next week's is going to be Girl on the Third Floor, starring CM Punk. I don't know wrestlers, but he's a wrestler.
Straight edge, baby.
Yeah, I found that from a grand old list of movies with wrestlers, and I thought it sounded interesting. It was going for the classier angle. So look that up. Girl on the Third Floor from 2019. And I will probably leave it there. I for a quick bit of shilling from me, I got out my Spider-Man Far From Home video, which is a quick one about how that film has very subversive writers who just made it a P-take of Marvel movies in a way that I think flew under the radar. if you want to watch that, that would be great. And I'll be thanking all my co-hosts. And Trig, anything you'd like to shill? I know you're very busy on Thursday nights typically.
Usually on Thursday nights. I've been had a couple of nights off recently on that front, but yeah, no, we've been doing a stream or a series of streams with Scrump on democratization. Well worth watching. If you feel like watching something for 4 hours that's deeply heavily political, on 1900 through to 1950.
Do it. It is amazing. The research. The reason I think it's fallen a little bit back is to the amount of research you do for it and putting into it. It really is fantastic, and it stands up to lots of rewatches because of how info dense it is.
It was a lot of work. It was a lot of hard work, an awful lot of reading, and we've still got a couple more to do on it. But I think all of us have sat there and kind of a little bit of burnout on it. There's essentially a wrap up to be done on it, I think, but it's yet to be done. And then there's all sorts of looking at what's happened since then. But a great big thank you to Evelyn, who's helped us with that, and since then I've been doing D&Ds on a Monday night, usually with some people from Oozlu's Discord server, which has been a bit of a giggle. But other than that, I think I'm going to go and watch. Actually, I'm going to go watch See No Evil, Hear No Evil, the 1989 classic comedy with Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor. Because every time I've been looking this up, that's been advertised at me countless times. I mean, like, you know what? That's a damn good movie. I'm going to watch that. That's hilarious.
Go for it.
Oh no, you've been suckered into the old advertisements. You know the subliminal messaging. You've been.
Yeah, but you know what? Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder movie.
Yeah, you can allow that.
Can't go wrong.
You can't go wrong. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to tell me this was some sort of like spin-off sequel starring Glenn Jacobs and The Undertaker. Like, wait, what?
No.
All right. How about you, TCG? Anything to shill? I know you've been busy as well.
Well, I mean, I've got my video last week that came out. If you haven't already checked that out, so that was just sort of capping off the Scream arc that we did over here by actually telling you about the inspiration behind the Scream movies, that being the Gainesville murders back in August 1990. So yeah, if you haven't checked that out, I am looking at a case. At the moment, I'm sort of going back to the fortnightly schedules now, so the next one will be next Tuesday at around midday, so stick around for that. Although I do actually want to shill another true crime, if that's possible. So if you go to my community tab, I think it's the post underneath the advertisement for this one. There's a guy called LPR Presents who, for me, I think has probably one of the best true crime narrations voices out there. Very, very underrated. He released a video the early hours of this morning. I highly recommend him. Check him out. But yeah, that's me. Thanks again for this stream, and thoroughly enjoyed it.
Absolute pleasure. And Haryan, anything for you?
If something annoys me this week, you'll know about it because I'll make a video about it. Laughing at the Guardian on Saturday. Need to organise guests for that. Regional Variations tomorrow with Untold Features channel with him and Shinobi. And the last video I put out about 3 days ago was about Jordan Peterson saying that, accurately describing brown people's skin colour, their reaction to it, which was obviously mental. So go give that a watch. But yeah, that's all the shilling from me. Thank you.
Nifty. All right, well, thanks again, guys. Really great discussion, and I do like it when I end up changing my opinion from the discussion. I like that. And thanks to everyone in chat. I got the feeling you guys liked it, and I think it's a really good start to the Wrestlers in Horror arc.
Absolutely.
You have your horror homework. The next one, Girl on the Third Floor, as TCG has found, it is on Netflix in the UK, and I'm sure many other places on the internet have it too. I am going to leave it off there. I hope you enjoyed it in chat. I hope you enjoyed it if you're catching this on the rewatch. And we'll say goodnight. Thanks, y'all. Cheers.